You're listening to Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Dark Matter Radio Network. Don't run and hide. Don't be afraid. Don't turn away any longer. The truth will set you free. And now, your host, the captain of conspiracy, the prince of paranormal. This ain't your daddy's radio network show. This is Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
All right. Yeah. It's Friday night, everybody. How you doing? It's Fade to Black. I'm back. It's Friday, March 21st. We are 80 days into the new year. And as always, we are live from the JP Motorsports Studios right here in sunny Burbank, California. Got a great one tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. For KJCR and the Dark Matter Radio Network, I am your host, Jimmy Church. We are live, as opposed to being live. Tonight's going to be great. And you know how I start off every show. Started off with a big, proud salute to the men and women in uniform all around the world, fighting the good fight for us. Without them, there is no me. There is no you. There is no us. And you couldn't hear me right now. Think about it. Let's get this show cracking. Hey, I promised beer and pizza in the studio tonight. So here, let me, there you go. There you go, Steve. That's for you, Keith. You didn't think I'd do it. Today, actor Gary Oldman is 56 years old. Looking older than that, but he's 56. And the thing is about Gary, a couple of really great movies. In fact, he's never made a stinker, but one of his latest ones that came out a few years ago was Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Absolutely amazing movie, and he slayed in that. He just slayed. But for me, it was The Fifth Element. I just thought he was he was himself. Today, singer Eddie Money is 65 years old. I'm going to leave the Eddie Money jokes alone. A friend of mine is his drummer, and so I'm going to be kind. Our dead guy birthday today is a remarkable one. Johann Sebastian Bach, born in 1685 and died in 1750, probably the original rock star. Mozart bowed to this guy. You know what I mean? The Johann today. Now, that 1685 today, let's do the quick math. That makes him about 3,000 years old. But he did rock. And today, J.S. Bach, his birthday, died in 1750. Follow us on Twitter, J Church Radio. Facebook, Jimmy Church Radio. YouTube, KJCR Fade to Black. Follow, like, and subscribe. We'll get all the shows from this week up on YouTube this weekend. Our SOP, standard operating procedure, as soon as we get done with tonight's show and the network gets me the files, we'll get everything up on YouTube tomorrow if you've missed anything this week. Tonight is a special night. Tonight is our 3-month anniversary from the first show. And I thought about this, and I went and I got and grabbed my good friend Steve Murillo, who is here live in the studio, and that we would have a very cool conversation tonight. Now, I'm going to get to Steve in just a second, but I'm saying that now because we are going to have open lines all night. And it's an opportunity for you to speak with somebody that knows more about alien abductions and UFOs than probably anybody on planet Earth, but also a former fighter pilot. We have this Malaysian situation going down too, and there's a lot of things to talk about. So it's an opportunity for you to talk to Steve Murillo tonight. So we have open lines. You know the number, 323-825-5045. After we get through the break and we bring Steve on, not really bringing him on, he's sitting in front of me here in the studio, but when we come back off of the break and crack a couple of more beers, we will start taking your phone calls. The bumper music tonight, as always, is Doug Aldrich from the band Whitesnake. And Steve had asked me during right before the show, hey, Church, got any cool rock and roll music, bumper music tonight? So, yeah, we've got Doug. And so that's about it. Let me go through a couple of headlines, things that that are kind of bothering me at the moment. But this Malaysian missing plane, I had the feeling, let me kill the music. I had the feeling that this Australian ray of hope was going to be just that it was going to turn out to be nothing. And the reason why I felt that way was because nothing floats like that, of that size for 2 weeks. It just doesn't do it. And the way that they made the announcement, I thought that either they were looking at windows, they saw the name of the plane, Malaysian Airlines, something to indicate, because you're giving a false hope to all of those families. And if you're going to be the Australian Prime Minister and you're going to get up and break into CNN at 2:00 in the morning with the news conference, then you've got something. And when it turned out in the morning that they didn't have anything, I knew that there was going to be nothing. And now they are just searching empty water, and we are right back to where we were before. My take is this, as harsh as it may be, is, and I'm going to be direct here, I'm just going to be direct, everybody knows me, is I didn't want to go dark in thoughts on this situation with the Malaysian plane, the 777. I didn't want to go dark. But now the conspiracy ideas, the conspiracy thoughts, everything else, that it is now to me a possibility. And I have to look at it that way, because this plane has disappeared. And I don't think in any time in our history recently, nothing like this has ever happened. And I'm in shock. So I don't know what to think now. But here we are 3 days into this, going on the third day with this Australian discovery, and we have come up empty-handed. And there's nothing. And I don't know what to think. So that's that. That's my thoughts. I just want to get that out there. There was a bunch of trumpet reports again that are popping up. And the trumpet reports of these mysterious atmospheric trumpets all around the world are starting to blow my mind. So I'm going to, next week, I've got a special guest. I'm not going to make that announcement until Tuesday like I always do because of the other show. But I'm going to bring in somebody to talk about these trumpets around the world. And it's freaking me out. And if you have heard any in your neighborhood, any in your town, I don't care what country you are in and listening to right now, but I want to hear from you. I want to know what you've heard, if there's been any local news reports. I have got tons of video and news reports from around the world. I've compiled a bunch of stuff and a bunch of audio. We'll be playing that for you next week. But it is starting to it's like concerning me. And it's not, I don't think it's a phenomenon. I think it's some passing phase or somebody's imagination. These are video clips of people running out in the front yard, taping this. It's absolutely nuts. So with that, I'm going to set the stage tonight. There's a few things, if you're going to call in. Steve and I, he doesn't know what we're going to talk about, but there's a couple of things. So if you're going to call in, I want to hear from you the one UFO incident that should be made into a movie that hasn't been made into a movie yet. So what do you want to see turned into a movie? I have connections, and I have my one incident. And Steve has been so instructed to come up with his. So that's one of the things. And also, we're going to be talking about later after the break. One of the things I've been talking about on this show since we've started are deaths in the UFO community. And these aren't coincidences. They're just not. Now, the deaths that I have always brought up, I mean, everybody dies. Okay, I'm not talking about somebody that died naturally. I'm talking about mysterious deaths, suicides, thrown off a building, thrown out a window, run over by a car, whatever. Some crazy form of cancer that sneaks up and kills you in like 2 days, stuff like that. So I've always talked about that. Then suddenly, I had Nick Redford on last week or the week before, and we talked about this because that's what his new book is about, Fatal Encounters. And, we talked about it briefly. But in the last week or so, there's been one article after another on the internet about this. I don't know why the chatter is out there right now. But tonight, if you know, I'm going to have my list here. I've got my list of mysterious deaths, and Steve obviously probably knows the ones that I don't have. And we're going to talk about that. But if there's a name on the list, or if you know of another story, call in. We want to talk about that too as well. It's going to be a great night tonight. It is pizza and beer night. It is the 3-month anniversary of the show. The show has grown and grown. I want to thank everybody out there, everybody that has helped us, and all of the support, the forums, the emails, the phone calls, just everything. We are very, very, very thankful. I'm appreciative. And this is a snowball rolling downhill. It's out of control, and I love it. It is so much fun to do this every single night, even if I've got a guy like Richard Sauter on the show. Even that was fun. But again, I just want to say thank you. It's going to be a fun night, and this show tonight is for everybody out there. And so let's go ahead and take our first break. When I come back, we will have Steve Murillo, and we'll take it from there. All right, everybody. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Today is Friday. Steve, is that rock and roll enough for you? Is that rock and roll? Okay, I'll crank it up here in a second. This is the Dark Matter Radio Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. KJCR. Shoot us an email, jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. We are live from Burbank, California. 3-month anniversary. What are we going to do at 1 year? Fiji? We'll be back right after this. Don't touch that mouse.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black on the Dark Matter Radio Network.
What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I got to tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. It doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil 3-letter. So, seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
On the Dark Matter Radio Network.
right, everybody, welcome back. Fade to Black, KJCR. On a Friday night. Now. Shoot me an email to jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. I just saw a couple of come in. Most compelling UFO incidents of all time. Exactly. We'll get to it. Shoot me an email, jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. You got Twitter @jchurchradio. Twitter's open right in front of me. It's going to be a great show. And don't forget, the one UFO incident that you would want to have made into a movie that isn't a movie yet hasn't been done. What is it? I have mine. And you know what's funny? Mine, I never hear anybody talk about it. I just never do. And wait till I break this out tonight. And I think, I honestly do. I honestly think that everybody's going to go, yeah, I forgot about that one. And you are right. I'm not talking about Kecksburg. You know, I'm not talking about any of that stuff. So we'll see. Okay. All right. So the call-in line, 323-825-5045. And let's get moving here. Let's get cracking. Is that number 2? Is that cracking number 2 tonight, Keith? Hey, Keith, I'm looking at the jitter. I'm looking at your notes here coming in. And if you want to reset on the next break, just let me know if it doesn't chill out. Okay? All right. I am reading, Keith. Steve Murillo grew up in California as a child of the 60s. He's still a child of the 60s. Murillo graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy with a degree in systems engineering in 1982 and then was commissioned as an officer in the United States Marine Corps, Semper Fi, and was an A-4 fighter pilot. He left the military in 1987. He went over to TRW Systems as an engineer for satellites. Then, in 2000, for the next 13 years, he became the director of MUFON Los Angeles, which was, at the time, the largest chapter of MUFON International. And now, today, currently, he's splintered off. He's now the director of UPARS LA, a great group that I visit often. And that's when we did the Richard Dolan show, by the way. That was put together by Steve and, well, the network and us, but that was at the UPARS meeting here in Los Angeles. So I'd like to welcome to the show Mr. Steve Murillo. Steve, how you doing, man?
Doing great, Jimmy. Thanks for having me back. Appreciate it.
Beer and pizza.
Oh, that's what got me here. No, I'm kidding, man. I'm kidding.
You're a cheap date. If that's... oh, man. All right, so welcome to the show, and it's you know what, we got a call coming in already.
Let's take it.
All right, let's see. Let's just fly with it. Let's just fly with it. Okay, you're live on the air. Who's calling?
Hey, my name's Don. How you doing?
How you doing, Don? Say hi to Steve.
Hey, Don.
Hi, Steve.
What you got for us tonight, Steve? Or Don? I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is about the Malaysian flight. And maybe it's a little bit off topic, but can I give you my theory?
Absolutely. That's the first thing we were going to jump into tonight. So what do you think? Well, before I ask you that, okay. Don, what do you do for a living? I mean, what do you do?
Well, right now I'm in China, and I'm teaching English, and I can give you a little perspective on what all the Chinese are doing. They have conspiracy theories, and they think it's the Americans behind this.
Is that now? That's interesting.
Yeah,
is that
is
that chatter on the street, or is that in the papers?
Yeah.
Or
no, I can't read the papers and all of that, but it's the chatter from everybody thinks the Malaysian government is hiding something from the Chinese, from China, and they say they wouldn't do this unless the Americans were behind it. So that's
any
that's what's going on, in their minds here. But here's where I'm going with this. Security concerns are pretty strong at this point, especially after September 11th. Everybody's kind of acutely aware of airplanes flying around. And I have to assume that when an airplane goes off course, there is an international agreement I'm assuming two things here. One is that there's an international agreement that everybody, for a commercial flight, will notify everybody in the universe, hey, a flight's gone off course, we can't contact it, be aware of this. All of the national defense, this is for mutual protection.
Absolutely.
Everybody's going to tell everybody.
Absolutely.
The second thing is, I think there are probably transponders or something like that on every airplane that nobody on the airplane can turn off. I don't believe it's possible that Boeing or anybody, or the U.S. government, for example, would allow Boeing to make an airplane that somebody could just put into stealth mode and, we can't find you anymore. Now, that's not so critical, but here's what I think happened. Somebody has a new technology, and the new technology can control an airplane from off the airplane.
In case of another 9/11 situation. Yeah, that talk is going around right now. I had a pilot on the show the other night, and I talked to him off of the air, and that was one of the things I asked him. Is it possible to remotely control a 777? And he didn't answer me. So I don't know.
I got an answer.
What's that?
Ness, I'm sorry.
I think somebody's got it, and I think
Don,
somebody
let me interrupt
took
you.
the plane.
Don, let me interrupt.
And they called somebody and said, "We're going to take this plane. There's not a damn thing you can do about it." Now, why is nobody saying anything about this? Would you announce to the world, if you were any government, China, Russia, America, England, France, anybody, would you say somebody out there has the technology to take any airplane, and we can't do a thing about it?
Hey, Don,
that would put chaos into the air traffic.
Don, can you hear me?
Nobody would fly.
Don, you can't hear.
I can hear you.
Oh, you can. Oh, okay.
You can
that
hear
was
me.
okay.
Oh, okay. You're just ignoring. Hey, Don, Steve Murillo here. Back random. Hi. The NASA demonstrated technology like this right around before 9/11. They had that They took off and landed. I think it was a 747 remotely, and it didn't have pilots and it didn't have anybody in it. They did it. So that technology's been around for a long, long time.
Well, every time they do a crash test, that's flown remotely.
But here's the question: if you're tying it in with the U.S., what would the motivation be? Why? In other words,
no, I'm not tying it in with.
No, I know you're not. I'm saying that the
US.
papers you're reading or what you're hearing out there in the news. What would the motivation be? What are they saying would be why would the U.S. be behind something like this? What's the motivation?
Well, Don, I don't mean to cut you off, but that's what I was kind of leaning to at the beginning of this show. Was now it's starting to twist my mind around, and I'm starting to think wrong thoughts. And here's one other thought for you, Don, and for Steve, and for everybody listening right now. I thought about this earlier today, and I haven't heard anybody mention this. We have submarines that can detect anything, any movement, any noise, any slightest anything for miles underwater. You can detect a silent submarine buzzing around, and they know what submarine it is just by its acoustic signature.
Sure.
Done. Finished. And they can't pick up the ping that is going off from any emergency locating beacon that is right now that is activated. It's got a 30-day battery. Everybody knows about this. After 30 days, it's going to slowly fade away. But are you telling me that our submarines can't detect that? It must be so loud to a submarine. I would think you could hear it on the other side of the earth. Like whales.
Now this plane didn't crash. They know where it is, but they can't let anybody know they know where it is. And I think all the governments know. They can't tell people there's some rogue group out there or somebody has the technology, and if you fly in an airplane, they can take it.
Yeah,
they can't say that.
Exactly. But, Don, that's my point. If it's crashed, we would know exactly where it is.
Yes.
That's my point. And that's why my thoughts are going
it
dark.
Didn't crash.
Yeah,
I don't think it crashed.
I don't know what to think. I really don't know. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay, well, first of all, getting to the transponder, in most cases, in most jets, in fact, the jets I used to fly, the transponder was just a little box. You could switch it off. There's no problem. In newer jets, I have no idea what the technology is, but probably it's just that simple as there's a transponder. I mean, in fact, I know that I was looking at a cockpit of a 777, and the transponders were right there. Now, does it have other transponders in it that the pilot cannot turn off? I don't know. I'm not an airline pilot, so I couldn't tell you that. But the transponder was just simply it was in World War II. We had to know who was coming in and out of our airspace. We called it IFF, identify friend or foe. So all a transponder signal is an FM signal that identifies, we're looking for certain frequencies. Those frequencies are friendly. If you have the wrong frequency, you're a foe. So, and it was a simple mechanism. I don't know that, but that's not the only thing we need to detect an aircraft. Obviously, we got satellites looking at them. I mean, these airlines, they have satellites that are watching their whole fleet. Right?
Yeah. It's called the Omega system.
Yeah,
That's one of them. And I don't know how many Omega satellites. I don't know if you've heard about this, Don, but I was in my research this week. They have their own system that is constantly checking, and it's mainly there for a lot of different reasons, but weather. So it's telling you where to fly, what height, what altitude, what speed, what to avoid, and every airline is hooked up to that system. I haven't heard any mention of that either.
Let's run the scenario then. Okay, so let's say this thing didn't crash. Okay, what that implies is you've got multiple people, a conspiracy here that know all the technologies, can shut down all the systems that they need to shut down during flight, so that thing just kind of goes dark, and that's like a pretty big conspiracy.
Well, and that's the thing, Don. I want Don's opinion on this.
Yeah,
that's exactly what happened.
Yeah,
Do you agree, Don?
Don, you there?
Don, you with us?
Well, I don't think they shut down all the flights, all the detection systems. Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We got you.
I don't think they shut down all the detection systems. I don't think they shut down the detection systems. They just took control of the airplane, and everybody knew where it was going.
Oh, you think
they were like, what the hell? And they can't broadcast that. They can't say there are planes flying around in the air and anybody can take control of them. They know exactly where this plane is. The airline knows, the NSA knows, everybody knows, but they can't tell anybody.
Why not?
Because then that means they have to admit somebody out there can hijack any plane at any time.
Exactly right. Hey, Don, call into the show anytime. And listen, if you get any updates out there, call us back.
Will do.
Okay. Thank you, Don.
Thanks, buddy. See you.
Be safe.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Wow. So the chatter on the street in China.
That's crazy.
Wow. Okay. Email just came in. Congratulations, Jimmy, Keith, and crew on your 3-month anniversary. Here's to 30 more years. 30 more years of the best thing in internet streaming. And that's from Renee in Tucson. Thank you, Renee.
Thanks, Renee. That's awesome.
And she says, P.S., I'd like to see a movie on the Hudson Valley sightings. Hey, that would be good.
Very cool sighting. Very, very, very cool.
Very well played, Renee. Very well played.
Yeah.
Didn't make my list, but I didn't think about it either.
The Hudson Valley UFO, that thing was huge.
Yeah, that was a really good call. Right. Well done, Renee. What was that song? Don't Walk Away, Renee.
I don't know that one.
Was that the Birds?
Don't Walk Away, Renee. Don't know that one. How does it go, man?
I don't know, man. I'm not singing. Nobody wants to hear me sing. That'd be the worst thing in internet streaming.
The dulcet tones of Jimmy Church.
Oh, man. All right. Okay, so where were we? Yeah, so back to the Malaysian. Again, that opens up another phone line, 323-825-5045. What is the one UFO incident that you would like to be made into a movie? And who would star in it? So now I'm just gonna say this in passing really quick. Should I mention the reality show company?
Sure.
Should I do that, or should I not?
Well, talk a little bit about it. Sketch it out.
We got content.
Or you want to save it?
Yeah. You know what? Let's give it about a week.
There you go.
And we'll see. We need a little bit more to talk about before we let the cat out of the bag. But 323-825-5045. Email Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. Of course, there's Twitter at jchurchradio. So, okay, this is what I want to do. Before we get into the biggest or the best UFO incident that you think should be made into a movie, I was talking before the break about deaths in the UFO community. And this is the thing. I honestly think that when you look at the list and you look at the type, how do I say this?
The way they went out?
Yeah, the way they went out.
Yeah.
It's just, I have friends that have died, family members that have died. But it's just a death. It's just a part of life. You've achieved your place in evolution. Okay, all right. But I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody that's committed suicide. I just don't know. I don't know anybody that's jumped out of a window. I don't know anybody that has had brakes cut loose in their car. I have had nobody found with rope around their neck. Nothing crazy. But in the UFO community, it just seems like it happens all the time, and people are acclimated to it, and they don't want to bring up some of the coincidences. I guess I just people the mainstream media doesn't recognize it because they don't want to touch it because it's the UFO subject.
Let's look at it. What are you talking about?
Okay. Well, first off, and now I went through. There's a couple of articles that came out this week. One of them was UFO Digest, and it's called "Strange Death and Disappearances Haunt Ufology." And then another story came out yesterday on Yahoo. Okay, and it's on Yahoo News, and I'm opening that up now, and that is called "Are UFO Experts Being Murdered?"
Oh, wow.
Okay. Now, when you look at these two articles, let me pull up.
Just for the record, I'm not an expert, Jimmy.
Okay. in death?
No, in UFOs. I know nothing about that stuff.
Yeah, really. Exactly. Tonight, driving home, Porsche.
Exactly.
off of Mulholland Drive.
Gee whiz, how'd that happen? He never goes out there.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. So now, but there was one name that curiously for me was left off of both of these lists. And that name was James McDonald. Now, I don't know how he could. Now, Forrestal made one of the lists.
Oh, yeah.
Forrestal's not on the other list.
That guy was interesting how he went.
Yes, it was. And so out of these two lists that I have here, they don't have the same names on both lists. And I find that really, really interesting. Who considers what are experts, researchers that are writing these articles. But the one name that wasn't there was James McDonald. James McDonald, he died June 13th, 1971. I had Ann Druffel on the show last month. And obviously she worked for James and knew him really, really well.
Thick book, read it. Yeah.
Yep. Great book. Mm-hmm. And even though the circumstances that led up to it, maybe his wife was cheating on him, maybe not, maybe that was bothering him, maybe not, maybe he knew the guy, maybe not. We don't know the real story. We don't. But for him to commit suicide right as he announces and tells his friends that he got some information of the real deal stuff. And he wrote in his journal, in his black book, that he wrote in his journal that the information is in his black book. The black book has never been found. And it was like the last entry in his journal. And for him to just turn around and commit suicide right after that, I just doubt it. And he was at that time, there was a handful of greats, but he was one of the 2 or 3 guys in the country, and I'm sure you'll agree, Steve, he was the top guy.
Solid scientist, university professor, very upstanding guy, well researched. Yeah, solid
connections.
Yeah, connections. Yeah, so he was a solid UFO researcher and knew his stuff.
And one of the other deaths for me. Again, call in 323-825-5045, 323-825-5045 was and even though and I talked about this on Wednesday night briefly with Richard Souter, and I didn't like the way Souter handled it, but I'm just saying that I brought this up on Wednesday, was Phil Schneider. Phil Schneider, after he went on his, he was probably on the scene for about 2 years, Dulce
Jimmy.
and the underground alien bases.
Jimmy.
And yes.
I need to drop and reconnect.
I can hear it.
Just stand by for a minute. I'm going to call you right back.
Okay, we're back. Yeah, we got some jitter, chitter, chatter issues with the internet. So if we are dropping in and out, we are working on it here. So anyway, back to Phil Schneider. Phil did 2 years of touring, and what the thing is for me with the way that he died was he had all of his injuries, and he had some physical issues too as well. But fingers burnt off of his hands. He had medical problems, and I believe he was very nearly wheelchair bound at the end. But leading up to that was he went from Dulce and being shot by an alien to every single conspiracy in the United States. Don't believe a single thing that the government tells you, and whatever subject mentioned, he had a conspiracy behind it, and he was very vocal and was getting louder and louder and louder about that. And then they find him with I believe, a rubber tube wrapped around his neck a couple of times, and they find him there was a knot that was tied, but he's got no fingers.
Yeah.
So, and I cannot believe that nobody raised any questions about this. The coroner, they didn't. The autopsy was done weeks later. There was nothing done on the scene of the crime. There was this or that. They just wrote it off, and for a medical examiner to put in the report that he was found with tubing wrapped around his neck that was tied into a knot when the guy doesn't have any fingers. If you don't write homicide on that right then, for cause of death and get some kind of murder investigation going on, I don't know what else you need.
Right.
And it's one of the crazy deaths.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Now these are some of the things that Schneider was saying. Not only Dulce, but that the American government concluded a treaty with gray aliens in 1954. This mutual cooperation pact is called the Grenada Treaty. He said that the space shuttle had been functioning with special metals provided by the aliens. A vacuum atmosphere is needed for the rending of these special alloys, thus the push for a larger space station. This was one of the
interesting.
Yeah, it was. Yep. And then he said that much of our stealth aircraft technology was developed by back engineering craft, and this was a long time ago.
Yeah.
He was one of the first guys to bring all of this stuff up. He said AIDS was a population-controlled virus.
Wow.
By the National Ordnance Laboratory created in Chicago. He said that that the government had an earthquake device that the Kobe quake in Kobe, Japan had no pulse wave, and he said that the earthquake in San Francisco had no pulse wave. So he's bringing up all these crazy things. It wasn't just Dulce, and he was very vocal about all of this.
Yeah.
And then, and I think he had a book that was getting ready to come out, and he was getting ready to go back out on tour, and he had his kids and his relationship.
He might have been hitting a little too close to home, huh?
Something,
yeah. No, I hear you, man. I hear you. There are others. Carla Turner, Dr. Carla Turner.
Yes.
Remember her?
Yeah.
Aggressive rare form of cancer. Took her in like less than a year, just like 3 or 4 months. She was diagnosed, boom, dead.
I think it was quicker than that.
Yeah, it was really kind of bizarre.
Yeah,
but she was an abductee, and she was very voiceful about that, and was talking about it, and the bizarre. She kind of came from the darker side of abduction. I mean, she would describe these crazy things that she witnessed on board these craft. I mean, like dismembered people, and body parts. And
when did she die?
95, I think it was.
Did you ever meet her?
No, I never did.
You never met her?
Never met her.
There's Ron Rummel. Ron Rummel, another disturbing case. He died in 1993. Allegedly shot himself in the mouth with a pistol, but the pistol didn't have any blood on it.
Nice.
Yeah. They said that his body smelled like sodium pentothal.
Oh wow!
And I'm sorry, but it's just and he's.
Well, then go back to Forrestal. Talk about him, because the guy, his brother saw him the night before his death. He looked fine. He was happy. He was reading, and
wasn't he in Walter Reed?
Yeah.
Isn't that where it happened? It was in Walter Reed Hospital in D.C.
Yep. And he decided to take a flying leap. I don't know what floor it was, 12th or 20th floor.
Right.
It was enough.
Right.
And but yeah, it was very bizarre. But yeah, he had gone into fits of depression after he had allegedly learned some information that concerned UFOs.
What was his position in the State Department at that time?
I'm not sure.
Wasn't he? He was Secretary of the Navy.
I think it was or Secretary of Defense. I think it was at least Secretary of the Navy. We can look it up real quick.
Yeah. Ron Johnson, another guy. Excellent health, passed a recent physical examination, but June 9th, 1994, he died quickly amongst some very strange circumstances. During a slideshow, several people sitting close to him heard a gasp. They turned on the lights, and he slumped over in his chair.
Wow.
Dead. And did he die of a stroke? Was it some kind of allergy? Nobody knows.
Yeah. John Mack.
Yeah, John Mack.
The iron. I've never said this publicly. It's John Mack was hit by a truck. If that's not ironic, he was. That's terrible, isn't it? I didn't say that.
He didn't.
I didn't. But that's exactly what happened. He stepped out in front of it after delivering a lecture. But it wasn't about UFOs or abduction. It was about something else. He had been invited to some poetry reading or something like that. And he stepped out in front of a truck. Very strange.
Very strange. Like I said, have a heart attack at the age of 85. I get that.
Yeah.
Die in your sleep, 79 years old. I get that. Smoke cigarettes for 40 years, 70 years old, emphysema, and you go, I understand all of that. 40 years old, 45, 41, 52, suicide, thrown out a window.
Right.
Forrestal, that's one of the craziest things. We're talking about an Army hospital, Veterans Hospital in Washington, D.C. The reasons why he was admitted there was all of the reasons to be checking on him all of the time. And then he jumps out the window,
Yeah.
There's Danny Casolaro, an investigative reporter looking into the theft of Project Promise software, a program capable of tracking down anyone, anywhere in the world, died in 1991, reported suicide. Brian Lynch, a psychic and contactee, died in 1985, purportedly of a drug overdose. Captain Don Elkin, 1980, in the 1980s, he was an Eastern Airlines pilot, committed suicide. He was deep into the study of raw material with Carla Rucker. But, I mean, it's just, when you start to look at all of these in its totality, there's something going on.
A pattern emerges.
Yeah. Maybe that should be a movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm being serious. Have you any of the researchers that you were with MUFON for 13 years?
Long time, yeah.
Anybody take a mysterious exit?
No mysterious exits around me or near me. I mean, let's see, Bud Hopkins, he died. I mean, he had a cancer, but it was a cancer that he'd been fighting for some time. Very sad. Just recently, just last week, Dr. Roger Lear passed. And that was a strange one. That was another ironic one because he was actually
he's a foot doctor.
He was a foot doctor. He's in the waiting room to have his foot looked at because he had injured it a few weeks earlier, or maybe a few months earlier. Anyway, he was in, and he excused himself to go to the restroom and had a heart attack in the restroom. Strange.
Too
bad. Very sad.
You and I were talking about this. In fact, you're the one that told me that it happened.
Yeah.
You texted me that morning, and I had to stop and think. I was just a couple of weeks before that. I went to go see him speak in Marina Del Rey.
Yeah.
And I had called you and said, dude, I'm here. Why don't you come on up? And
it was a date night or something.
Yeah, it was a date night for you, and you couldn't come up. But I saw Dr. Lear. I briefly just said hi to him, and he said hi. We didn't get a chance to talk. He was speaking that night. But he didn't look healthy.
No, he hasn't looked.
He didn't
in the
look
pink for some time.
Yeah. He was slow.
Mm-hmm.
Nice guy, smiled at everybody, gave a great talk. But you could tell that he wasn't the way that he looked 10 years ago.
No, yeah, he had some ailments. When I was MUFON, we had a fundraiser for him. Whitley Strieber was behind it, put it together, and we did a little fundraiser for him to help him with his bills and all that, the medical bills. I guess they were piling up. So he'd been under care for a while, and he was getting older. So this is what happens
for a foot doctor to have a heart attack while he's waiting foot surgery.
Yeah, that's a little ironic.
Yeah, that was. Well, you know what? If you're going to go out like that. Hey,
why not?
It's like John Entwistle. Anyway, that's another story.
Yeah.
Now check this out. As long ago as 1971, researcher Otter Binder claimed that at least 137 UFO investigators had died under mysterious circumstances during the 1960s.
Huh.
And Timothy Good did his research into this too as well. But it's just the list is long, and I don't understand why nobody makes these connections.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think it's because it's fringe.
Yeah, that's pretty fringe.
It's fringe. The subject, ufology, is fringe, and the research, ufology, what they're speaking about is fringe, but they are fringe, and the death is mysterious, and nobody wants to be the guy to step forward and go, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, but it makes all the sense in the world if you think about it. I believe that the fact of UFOs is just a fact. That's it. They exist. We have the technology. We've been, so if you have the powers that be, so to speak, controlling that information, controlling that technology, somebody gets a little bit too close, hey, let's go take care of that little problem. You know what I mean? Do it quietly, make it look natural if you can. If not, make it look like the guy was suicidal.
When you were at MUFON, you not only were contacted constantly, but you were around people that spoke and other contactees and witnesses for so many years. Was there always a consistency in their demeanor? I mean, and I ask it like this.
How do you mean? Yeah.
Because, if somebody wants to come up to me and tell me about the New World Order and start tying in crazy stuff,
yeah,
and that's one thing. But an abductee or a witness, that's a personal experience. So
right.
there's no proof. There isn't. You don't need proof. It's just an experience. But was there a consistency in their demeanor when they come, you know what I mean, with that they were telling the truth,
like abductees or what have you?
Yeah, because
absolutely, yeah. Always there was some sort of angst in their personality, meaning you could tell they'd been through a trauma, and there were trademarks to the abductees, absolutely. And I mean, we still have meet at UPARS. And we still have quite a few abductees coming to the meetings. And, yeah, they do have a certain angst to them, post-traumatic stress disorder sort of personalities. And that expresses itself in various ways. Some people are habitual cleaners. Some people are very controlling. Some people are very fearful. Some are a little bit neurotic or not neurotic, a little bit psychotic even, And I think it's the trauma of the experience that drives them to those things. Like, in other words, you take a personality and somebody might be very stoic and able to absorb that information or go through that trauma and not lose it as much, but some people just don't have that kind of equipment, and when they go through something like that, they lose it, or they just kind of spin off into another world. And so we kind of had a variety. I mean, it was a mishmash of people.
Well, you have your meetings every single month,
right?
And you've been doing it for 13, going on 14 years,
right?
And so you have your members, but how often? Because I know that everybody knows you, and you know everybody else. You've been doing this for a long time,
right?
How often do you get the new face?
It's an interesting question because when we have people coming to speak about abduction, for example, Barbara Lamb,
right?
We had Barbara Lamb last year, and very low key promotion, and I was expecting moderate crowd or normal crowd. We had the house was packed. And a lot of those people were there to hear about themselves, basically. You know what I mean? And they were newbies, new faces to me. The interesting thing is, she was describing the hybrid program, and she was going through hybrids and all that. And she was describing what hybrids typically look like. And fair skin, wispy hair, larger eyes, blue eyes often, very fair looking, very pretty, some of them very pretty. And she's describing, and I'm looking at some of these new people. I'm looking at this one girl that's sitting next to my wife, and my wife's looking at her too, because this girl looked extraordinarily different. Not extraordinarily different, but she definitely had an interesting look to her. Larger eyes, a little bit almond shaped, blue. She was dressed very well. She had a very interesting demeanor. She just sat very upright, very, very pale skin. And she listened to the whole lecture, and I made it a point to go say hello to her and give her eye contact, but she didn't want to give me any eye contact. She just kind of looked up really quick and smiled and looked back down. And she left before, the meeting was over. She just disappeared kind of to me. I mean, I was busy doing other things. We had another abduction lecturer. I can't remember who it was. We had this pair of people show up, and they were really pale skin, kind of almost sweaty looking. You know what I mean? It didn't look like normal skin to me, and they were stranger looking. They had really loud clothing on, meaning they had very colorful clothing on, but none of it went together. There was no ensemble going on. It was just all mishmash, and they were standing in the back and just sort of very, very quietly watching the whole thing. And I approached them and said hello, and they just kind of like very shyly shrunk away and smiled and kind of moved away from me. And I didn't take it any further, but I thought, that's weird. They kind of had a really weird look to them, very strange, and they left before the meeting was over too.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've had some strange ones coming in. So,
well, there was one. I remember one night Barbara Lamb was there, and she's sitting in the audience. And after, I went up to introduce myself and talk to her briefly. But there was a line, 4 or 5 people deep, and I waited to talk to her. That each one of them, average people, just one after another, coming up. We need to talk to you.
Yeah.
We need to talk to you. We need, and she's handing out her card one after another.
Right.
And these were just people in the audience.
Yeah.
And I was just, how common is it? What was it that, I think it was Hynek that said it was some crazy number, 30% of the population's been abducted.
Hopkins.
Yeah, Hopkins, yeah.
No, I mean, by his projections, it was millions of people in the United States.
Right.
Just by his research, by his research. But yeah, and they come to the meetings, and oftentimes they're newbies, but they come because they need to hear from somebody else that they're not totally going crazy. You know what I mean? And they can't wait to unload on somebody what's been on their chest for maybe 20, 30 years, or make sense of the craziness that seems to be happening to them in their dreams. Very, very strange experiences for them. And and can be damaging if they don't have the right, if they don't make the right contacts and connections. And then there are, of course, a lot of people who prey on that, so you have to watch out who you're talking to. And Barbara Lamb is certainly not one of those. She's of the highest caliber. I love Barbara and Yvonne Smith. She's great.
Right.
So those are people that are renowned and well respected. But not too many people hanging out their shingles saying, "Hey, I'm an abduction expert," because they're kind of ferreted out. It's a very, very touchy subject. You have to be careful. It's dynamite, really. When you're dealing with people like that, you're playing with dynamite.
All right. Hey, Keith, we're going to go ahead and take a break, and let's reset this audio. I'm going to go ahead and run a commercial. Let's reset this audio. Our producers here are saying, yes, it is dropping out. So I'm going to run some music. You run some music. We'll be back right after this. Give us a couple of minutes. We got to reset this audio. Thank you, everybody. Be patient. We got a lot to do tonight. Okay, so Barbara Lamb, really quick, and again, you can call in 323-825-5045. It's the call-in number. We're just got a back to the mysterious deaths. Just got this email that came in. Your guest, Dr. Greer, has always been convinced that his personal assistant of many years, I believe her name was Sherry, was murdered due to their publicizing ETT contacts and communications. And there was another one that didn't make the list, was Fred Bell. Fred Bell was an inventor here in Southern California. Actually, he lived in Laguna, and had free energy, was working with different types of magnets and some other stuff, and was into some other things and music and tones and anyway, was just, in a contactee, and I think he was the grandson of Alexander Graham Bell, was related to Alexander Graham Bell somehow, but he was very outspoken on a lot of conspiracy theories. So he goes out to, I think it was Minnesota, where Jesse Ventura is filming his TV show, Conspiracy Theory. And they put him up in a hotel out there. And Fred Bell turns to, now this is just from memory, so if I'm wrong on a couple of facts, so be it. But he tells Jesse Ventura that he has got a CIA handler. And Jesse Ventura says, man, well, you're talking about some pretty crazy subjects on my show, and I don't think they're going to be happy about that. So Jesse has one of the interns there call the CIA, okay? And to let them know that if he's got a handler, that let his handler know that he's taping this show, or had taped the show. I think the interview was already done at that point. Again, I could be wrong. But it happened over 2 days. And so the CIA tells his intern, Jesse Ventura's intern, people that talk about that kind of stuff usually wind up dead. She freaks out, hangs up the phone, goes to Jesse Ventura, tells him what whoever was on the other end of the phone back at CIA headquarters in Langley, and she says, I don't need to deal with this. I'm getting married. I just graduated college. I'm out of here. She quits the show that night, okay? Fred Bell decides after the taping, the production company was only going to put Fred Bell up for like one night or 2 nights in a hotel. But Fred Bell wanted to stay the weekend. So he invited his girlfriend out to fly out, and he moved out of the hotel, moved into another hotel up the street, probably a nicer one, Yeah, the production company probably had him in a, Best Western or something. Right. And so he upgrades, goes down the street, checks into another hotel, and they find him dead the next day.
What?
And that is fact.
What?
That is fact. It happened last year.
Lord have mercy.
Oh, man. You got to hear Jesse Ventura's interview on this.
Now, think about this for a second. The CIA, when this intern calls, They say, most people who ask those kinds of questions end up dead. Okay, that's what she reports. That is the government, or quote, the state, the police state, telling you back the you-know-what up. And then punctuation mark with the, Fred Bell's exit. If you don't think if you don't think the government is not in control, and they're in control, and they know exactly what's going on, and it's not the same world I grew up in when I was, I was born 1960 in the 60s. I mean, I felt such honor, serving the country. I was ready to do battle. I was ready to give my life for my country and all that. But think about it. I was just a cog in the wheel, man. And that's just kind of sad. Things have gotten out of hand.
I got this came in from Brian. It says email. Maybe the plane has crashed in the Fukushima debris field, and the radiation is interfering with the plane signals.
That's possible.
That's a possibility. I like that. I haven't heard that.
I like that speculation.
Short version. I saw a UFO. I don't know if it's worthy of a movie, but I'd like to find a light wave expert who could recreate my sighting. No aliens involved, but I saw it quite close. It was round and stealth, and I nearly fell from the ladder that I was on. It lasted for about 5 minutes, but it seemed a lot longer. I saw a distortion in my peripheral vision. It was less than an average house length away and was moving about 2 miles an hour. It was like on rails and disappeared when it crossed the street, but I knew it was still there. That was from Brian. Brian, call the show. I want to hear the whole story.
That's interesting. But he mentioned light wave technology. Now, why is he saying that? Either one, he saw something to do with stealth. A lot of times when folks see UFOs, you can see the UFO's there, but you kind of see through it. It's just like Predator. Just like Predator, you're looking. You can
little flutter, little distortion.
Yeah. It's got like some kind of technology that allows you to see around it, so to speak. That's one way. But now, when I had my sighting, the first one, it was pretty dramatic, and what I saw was very coherent light, meaning the objects, the light that came off of these objects was palpable. I don't know how to describe it. It was just very unique, and maybe that's what he saw. I don't know. So I'd like to hear more about why he wants to,
Yeah, and Brian, call the show. I know you can hear me. 323-825-5045. This is a very unique description that you've laid out there for us. I would like to actually, and I want to hear kind of the ending, because you said at the end of the email, like it was on rails and disappeared when it crossed the street, but I knew it was still there. I mean, I want to know that's a very unique.
That's a stealthy UFO.
Yeah, I want to know exactly what he's trying to say.
Not uncommon.
Oh man. Okay. So, what were we talking about? Barbara Lamb. So my question to you was, week or month after month at the MUFON meetings, because everybody there, and you do. I've been to enough of them, and I
shake hands. I meet everybody.
Hands. Everybody knows who you are, and you are indeed a rock star, and everybody applauds. But anyway, but everybody there, and so when somebody new, when you walk into a bar and everybody knows each other, but it's a bar you've never been into, everybody knows you're the new guy when you walk in that bar.
Right.
It's the same thing at the MUFON meeting when somebody new comes in, because I see everybody interacting. Everybody's talking and hanging out, and it's it's a good atmosphere.
Right.
But then you see those people that come in, and they probably sit in the back of the room.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Or they sit right up front.
Okay. Yeah. How often is it? Is it every single
meeting? Every meeting. Sure. Every meeting we get newbies like that. Sure.
Do they come up to you and or do they?
Yeah, some of them. A lot of them come up and they want to unload a story. They want to tell me something. They want to tell a story something that happened to them. This field is sort of interesting until, like, the zealots, kind of like me. The zealots are people that have had an experience, a direct experience. They've had, like you have, I have. What that does is it stretches your perception. It opens your field of reality, so to speak. And now, suddenly, things are possible that you didn't think were possible before. Anti-gravity is possible now. Telekinesis or telepathy telepathy all of a sudden are possible. You might have received a download or some kind of communication. All of these things that you were told, or based on your science, your engineering, whatever your schooling, those things, that stuff didn't happen, couldn't exist. All of a sudden now it does exist. What are you going to do? And who are you going to talk to about that stuff? You know what I mean? You need somebody to talk to. So you come to one of these meetings, you haven't mentioned this thing to anybody because you know everybody's going to think you're crazy. But you get to this meeting, you're hearing these people share, and you're like, whoa, and now you can unload that story. And oftentimes people come up and they'll come up to me. I just want to tell you what happened to me. And they start rattling it off, and you're like, okay, go ahead, slow down, tell your story. Let's hear about it.
Has there ever been a child? Like parents come in with a child, and a child has had a story.
Yeah.
Really? Tell me about that.
Well, for example, one of our board members, she's an abductee, and her daughter is now an abductee. And the interesting thing is, you can claim you're an abductee and tell a story, right? But then when you take a video in your living room, your kid's playing on the living room floor with the dog, and then all of a sudden the video catches this weird kind of phenomenon that flies through the room. And then her boyfriend, who wasn't the boyfriend she brought last time, says, yeah, I was there and I saw this little thing in the room, not the same episode, but a different episode. We were asleep, and then I opened the closet and there was this thing, whatever. You start to think, oh, this person's actually telling the truth.
How old was she?
The little girl?
Yeah.
She's now probably 8, I'm going to guess.
You're kidding me.
No.
Wow.
Well, abduction goes through lineage. It goes from mother to daughter or mother to son, and then on and on and on. And this seems to go back to your grandma, to your great-grandma, to back. And so it's not, it's not surprising that it's happening to the little girl, because it was happening to the mom, and it was probably happening to the mom's, the mom's mom, and so on. That's how it goes.
Have you ever been affected by sleep paralysis?
Oh, yeah.
And was it related to anything?
I can't say unequivocally that it was related to anything like an abduction experience. I've had, memories in my past that I didn't put together as abduction until I got into this phenomenon.
Right.
These things were happening to me. I just thought it was just the nightmares of a child, or, I was rationalizing. You rationalize stuff like that. Right. Little guys coming through walls, and you're doing battle with them mentally, trying to fight them off, that kind of thing. You just think that's just a kid having nightmares. But there was a period of time when I was in junior high where I would not go to sleep. I would stay up all night till about 3 a.m. And when I got to about 3:30, I knew it was safe to go to bed.
Wow.
Yeah. And that went on for maybe 2-3 years.
I had one experience one time. It's never happened again, but this is what happened. I used to live alone in Sherman Oaks, south of the Boulevard.
I'm sorry, man.
Yeah. South of the Boulevard, if you know the valley, south of the Boulevard in Sherman Oaks is the place to be. Okay. And we all know that.
You were happening.
Yeah, it was a high rent district.
Right on. Okay.
And I'm going to take a stab at this and say it was 1995, 1996. And I'm alone in bed. And I woke up. In my bedroom, I had your standard issue. I want everybody to just picture, because it
are you going to say waterbed?
No. But, so a couple of nightstands with lamps on them.
Okay.
Right? Bed. At the foot of the bed, little entertainment center, 25-inch, 30-inch, whatever, Sony Trinitron.
Yeah.
Couple of stereo speakers on stands.
Okay,
that were out on each side. And the stereo speaker looking at the TV, the stereo speaker to the right is in the corner. And then the one on the left was over by the bedroom door. So they were spaced apart maybe 15 feet, right, with this entertainment center in the middle. Walls are white. And so the entertainment center with the TV is dark. It's black.
Yeah.
And the speakers on the speaker stands are black.
Okay.
But the walls are white.
Okay.
And I wake up at about, I don't know, probably 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, dead quiet. Everything's quiet. And I couldn't move. And I went to move. I thought about moving, right? I'm lying on my back.
Your eyes are open?
Yeah. And I couldn't move. And my heart immediately almost exploded out of my chest.
Yeah.
And I went through this adrenaline fear thing, like the drop off a roller coaster, that first drop. You know?
Yeah.
Just adrenaline surge, and I couldn't move. And I'm looking at the ceiling, and I couldn't move. And I looked down, tried to look down. I couldn't move my head. And I tried to look down by my feet.
Okay.
And I thought, and this is what made it worse, I thought I saw
a putty cat.
A little guy standing behind the speaker stand to my right, next to the sliding glass doors that went out to a patio.
Oh, okay.
And that caused a second adrenaline surge that I was, and I couldn't move.
Yeah.
I couldn't move.
No. I've experienced that. I haven't seen the little guy, but I've experienced that total paralysis. But yeah, your eyes are open.
I couldn't move, and it lasted for about 15 minutes.
Whoa, that's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time. And I was in the dark, and I was panicking.
Oh my God!
And I thought that I had visions of this is what it's like to be paralyzed, a war veteran or whatever.
Right.
You know, where you can't move.
Right.
You're thinking, your brain is saying,
you're functioning. You're awake.
Your brain is going, dude, but I couldn't move. And I panicked. I hyperventilated. I laid there in bed, and then suddenly, I think my feet moved first, and I could move. And I jumped up out of bed, and I didn't jump out of bed. I turned on the lights. That's part of the story. On both of my nightstands, there was nobody standing behind the
speaker.
And so for 15 minutes, it was like this standoff. You know, I knew that this guy, but I couldn't move my head. I couldn't tip my head up to look. But as far as I could look down with my eyes between my feet, as far as I could go, it looked like there was somebody standing there looking at me.
Oh, bizarre.
It was messed up.
Oh, that's messed up.
I never told anybody. I got up. I think I told Doug Aldrich, the guitar player on the show. I told him that later on that week. Did you
tell him about the little dude, or just tell him you couldn't move?
No, I told him I couldn't move.
Okay.
I told him I couldn't move, and I lied to him too. I think I told him there was a scary movie on TV.
Okay.
But my TV was off. You know, the room was dark.
Yeah.
But anyway, I slept with the lights on and the TV on every night after that.
Wow.
Every night.
Yeah.
TV was on all night.
Yeah.
When 9/11 happened, I saw it happen live because that TV stayed on all night. You know, I mean, are
we talking about 5 years of watching TV, of having the TV on?
Ask Rita.
Or 6 years.
Ask Rita. She finally talked me out of having the TV on maybe about 5 years ago.
Wow.
And so we've been running without TV at night now.
I bet you it's never happened again.
No.
Yeah.
No, that was the only time.
Yeah.
But it really happened. And there was a moment also that was really kind of freaky where I felt like I was falling backwards. Like there was a hole in the back of the mattress.
Yeah. It's a falling. Yeah, I know.
Oh, you've heard of this?
No, I've done it.
Okay.
I've had it happen to me. I know exactly that feeling. It's like you're falling backwards and then whoomp, the bed stops.
Yes. That and it was really weird. It was like a moment of weightlessness and nausea.
Yeah.
And adrenaline.
But
all
definitely a
happening
sensation of falling.
Yeah, like I was
like you're falling
backwards.
Yeah, backwards, and then the bed is all of a sudden stops.
Yeah. It was weird. And again, when I hear other people tell their story, I've never heard anybody say it exactly like mine or anything like that. But I believe them because I know exactly what happened to me. And it wasn't like I had on Art Bell, on the AM radio.
Right. And
something influenced my dreams.
Right.
No, it was one of those nights, quiet, nothing on. I was just sleeping, and something woke me up.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was the guy standing behind the speaker looking at me, and I still don't know if there was somebody there, but I felt that was the
catalyst. It
was a standoff.
Yeah.
It was a standoff in the room, and I was just praying for him to go away.
Yeah.
I couldn't move.
Yeah.
And it was a bizarre thing. And like I said, TV on, lights on every night after that. Hall lights on. I didn't care. I lit up that place like a Christmas tree.
Here's the bizarre, interesting thing about that. A lot of people have that experience, and a lot of people have feel there are people in the room. Okay, they're paralyzed, but more often than not, it's not a little dude. It's a tall guy that is more black than the room, like blacker than black, kind of like black hole black, where the light just can't get away from it. And they're usually tall. And the weirdest part, they're usually wearing a hat, a fedora. This is the weird part.
Okay.
That makes no sense, and it just sounds silly. But oftentimes they look like they're probably about 6-7 foot tall. They may or may not have red glowing eyes staring at them menacingly. Oftentimes a menacing feeling or an evil feeling coming from that entity or whatever it is, and the dude's wearing a cape and a hat. Now go figure that out. Why? I mean, that's bizarre. But then every now and then the grays.
You mean like a Mothman kind of guy?
Yeah, well, not even with the wings. We're like just a dude, a tall figure with a cloak, sometimes with a collar up, kind of thing, and the fedora hat or a tall hat of some sort. And then they're just standing by the bed and you're frozen and you're looking at them and there's this feeling of dread, feeling of evil. You can't move. This is described over and over again. So your story is not that far off from what I hear. And then but the little guy, that's a different deal. The little guy, usually there's more than one little guy. Or if there's a little guy, there's a couple little guys and one tall insectoid looking dude in the room.
Yeah, and I never I didn't see any eyes, I didn't see anything. I couldn't look. Mm-hmm. But as far down in your lower peripheral vision, and just imagine laying on your back and not moving your head and then trying to look at your feet. That's what I was trying to do. Yeah. My head was propped up on the pillow a little bit.
Yeah.
So I could kind of force myself. I couldn't move my head, but I could force myself to get, trying to get this into focus. But I didn't see, it wasn't like, gray alien. No, it was all black.
Black, yeah.
And it was just a figure.
But you mentioned standoff. You said it was a standoff. You were fighting kind of psychically with that thing.
Yeah. That was the vibe.
Yeah.
It was a standoff.
You were wrestling with it.
I could feel that guy. It was standing there looking at me.
It was trying to control you. You were trying to resist it.
I mean, all I know is the feeling that I had was me thinking to myself, "Get out, get the F out,
move,
get out, and leave me alone." And he wouldn't move. Now, again, I don't want everybody to go, church is whacked.
Yeah,
I'm just saying I never officially saw. But as far as I could see, that was what was causing the tension in the room. And finally, when I got up and could move and turn on the lights, there was nothing there.
Okay, so there's your story, right? And on its own, you would say, okay, maybe church is whack. But no, that's the story I hear often. Over the years, I've heard that story over and over again, told different ways, a little bit different here and there. They turn the light on. Some people manage to get themselves to moving a limb. Some people they'll move that, they can move their hand. Once they can move their hand, they can move the arm. They turn the light on and everything disappears.
Right.
And it's all back to normal.
Right.
So it's a really bizarre
it's kind of what happened.
Bizarre phenomenon, man.
Scared me.
Yeah.
Scared the crap out of me. I'm sure
never pleasant. I've never heard somebody say that was the best experience I ever had. Let me tell you about this thing that
I had the TV on and lights on for the next 10 years. Yeah. Yeah, the 2005, 2010 ish.
Yeah. So there's my thing, my statement about how once something like that happens to you, it changes your worldview, changes your perception of reality, and you have to deal with things in a different way.
Yeah. And so when somebody tells me a story like that, it's like I get it.
Yeah.
I've never said, it's happened to me too. I don't want to open up that door,
right?
And get that going. But now, everybody around the world knows now.
We're talking
now. I was thinking about the show tonight, and I wanted to. I'm just checking email really quick. We've got a bunch of stuff that has come in.
I want to hear about these. Talk about the trumpets.
Let's get to that.
Okay.
Is this? I wanted to tell the story, and the reason why I'm going to tell this story, and I'm hoping you can match. Okay, so we're going to match some stories.
Okay.
This story, we had 1, 2, 3, I believe 6, 5 plus myself witnesses, and everybody whose names I'm about to mention, we have over the years been together in a group and retold the story. Retold the story.
Right.
And it's crazy, but this is what happened.
All right, this is going to be good. I know.
Yeah. It's nuts. In Indianapolis, on the outside of Indianapolis, on the east side, which is where this happened in Cumberland, back when this happened in 1983, right before I moved to California, 1983, in this part of Cumberland, east side of Indy, was miles and miles of cornfields. Miles. Okay. And everybody in Indianapolis that's listening to me right now knows exactly what I'm saying. Today, suburbia. But back then, cornfields. Okay, for miles. And we had a little spot. Before we were 21, we're 18, 19, 20 years old, we would get beer, and we had this little spot. And we would drive out on this country road, and it was called German Church Road. Okay. And we would drive out in between these cornfields, and next to these train tracks was an access road. And now, again, in the middle of nowhere. And so we'd hang a right, and I can't remember how I found this spot, but I found it during the day. But we'd hang a right, go up this access road about a quarter mile into this cornfield where there were some trees, little chunk of trees. And we could pull around and hide on the other side of the trees. So from the street, there's just a clump of trees out there, and we'd park and drink all alone.
Yeah.
And we did it for couple of years. It was our spot, and we called it the electric company because there were some power lines that went overhead.
Yeah.
So one night, our friend I was driving. Our friend had a 4-door 1975 Oldsmobile Electra something that was the size of the Queen Mary. Okay, huge, 455 rocket, big 4-door car where we could put like 4 people in the back seat, 3 people in the front seat,
Yeah.
And so at this particular night, there was 3 in the back, 3 in the front. We had a cooler full of beer, and we pull up to the electric company. It's 1:00 in the morning. It's a little bit misty, foggy, thick fog. And I want to say it was fall. Okay, so it's cold outside.
Yeah.
So we back up. Right, it's all dark and foggy and crazy. We back the car up, and we start drinking. I'm sitting at the.
You're the driver.
I'm the driver. And it's too cold to get out of the car. So we're sitting there drinking, but we're surrounded by this fog. And the fog is like ending 3 feet in front of the car. It's just like this wall of dense fog, and it's dark, and we're drinking, and all of a sudden, right out of the front of the car, through the fog, comes this dude, and he's got like a hoodie, and he's old, like walking old, little hunchback.
Okay,
and he's got this hoodie on, and I could see his chin. And I freaked.
And then just
no. Now you have to remember, I set it up for you.
Yeah.
We are miles from nowhere.
And what year is this?
83.
Yeah. Okay. So just for the listeners out there, back those days, people didn't really wear hoodies.
No.
Nobody knew what a hoodie was.
That's what I'm trying to say.
We had them, but nobody wore them.
I don't know if it was black. I don't know if it was a sweat shirt hoodie, but it was a hooded thing over him. Anyway, so I could see, and he comes up to the window and stands there, and he's got his hands in his pocket, and I can't see his eyes. I could see his chin, and he's standing outside of the car window, and we're not, and nobody is saying a word. We're like,
you're looking at this.
Holy crap! Right. And I crack the window. It was an electric window. I cracked it like an inch, right? And he leans over and goes, "You seen my dog?" The silence I'm doing right now, that's what you heard.
Right.
What? I go, "No," and rolled up the window. He turns and walks away back into the fog.
Into the fog. Bizarre.
At 1:00 in the morning. Now, the crazy thing is, we're sitting in there. I mean, it was just dead silent in the car. What the hell?
Yeah.
Where did he come from? Because...
And where did he go?
Well, the direction he's walking back into the fog, in front of him is like 10 miles of cornfields.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember we were so freaked out, man. And we tell the story to this day. Now, it happened just like I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Now, and we knew this area really well. We would go out there during the day. We'd go out there at night. We went there all the time. And we knew there were no houses. There was nothing there. So I think it was the next day we went back, and it was me and my best friend, Jim McLeister. I wish he would call in. Mac Daddy, if you're listening right now, you got to call in and share that story. Any of you guys, Kurt Stokes, Smiley, all you guys. Anyway, we went back the next day just to check it out, to see where he... And there's just nothing there. Nothing.
Yeah.
And he's an old guy.
Yeah.
Where was he walking from? What's he... You know, there was no car. There was no nothing. He just walked up out of that looking for his dog at 1:00 in the morning, and he had to walk from wherever he was walking from for miles.
Yeah.
Freaky.
Bizarre.
And that is a true story.
Bizarre.
True story. True story. We tell it all the time. And I got to tell you, that we were, everybody in the car, pretty in shape. You know, 18, 19, 20-year-old, you know, all in shape, all good, all all that. Everything was good. We were petrified, man. Petrified. Scared.
Bizarre, man.
Yeah. Oh,
Bizarre.
we split. We stayed there for a few more minutes. I mean, my hands were shaking. We didn't know what to... We had the cooler was out of the trunk, right? It was sitting out in the grass right next to us. Nobody wanted to get out. No, you get out, man. You put it in the trunk. All right, let's leave it here. Let's just go.
Dude.
Ever have anything like that?
Negative. No, I've never had anything like that. But I've heard stories, man. I've heard some strange stories of gnomes, you know, little guys with hoods, little guys with little hats walking across the road. People have seen these things. Well, how about a Mothman? Mothman, people, you know, not hundreds. Lots of people saw the Mothman during that time. You know, not 100. How many witnesses were there? Quite a few, in the 20s, something like that. And flying humanoids, man. People have seen them over Long Island, over Coney Island, flying humanoids. Bizarre stuff.
I have a friend, Dale. If he listens to the show all the time. I've known him for 25, 30 years. Dale, if you're listening in Vegas, call in right now, 323-825-5045. You got the number. Call in. I'm gonna tell your story briefly, and then if I know you're listening, just call in. He was on the Angeles Crest Freeway, and I'm sorry. I talked to him a couple of weeks ago. My memory, the story is 30 years old now, so I always thought it was Angeles Crest Freeway. He corrected me and said it was another mountain road off of the 10 freeway going up into the mountains from there back near Covina. Okay. So, but anyway, I thought it was Angeles Crest. Same, it doesn't matter. All those mountain roads are the same. But he's up there with a couple of friends, and there was a pickup truck in front of him. And the pickup truck slams on its brakes, and a UFO, classic flying saucer, had flown over the car. And the guy slammed on his brakes, and they pull over. He pulls over. I think they might have both been in pickup trucks. I don't know. But they pull over, and they watch this thing as witnesses. And everybody's freaked out. I mean, it was kind of like the movie Close Encounters. Yeah. Just buzzed the cars. They freak out. Did you see that? Yeah. They get back in their cars. A few minutes later, they're driving up the road, and the pickup truck, again, like slams on its brakes, gets it sideways. They slam on their brakes, and across the road are, I think he says 3. Dale, you got to call in, brother. You got to tell this story because I'm messing it up already. But running across the street are 3 aliens, like 2 feet tall, 3 feet tall, short, in spacesuits, but they couldn't focus on them.
What do you mean?
He said they were fuzzy, bzzz, like blurry. And he said that they were running, but sliding, and
they weren't quite touching the ground,
right? But he said I want to say this correctly, like they were moving sideways. Okay, and
that is the most
yeah. And then, and he said everybody was freaked out. Everybody had jumped out of their cars. He said there was like 6 or 8 people, and they like I said, fuzzy, jittery, out of focus movements, rapid. He said it was just crazy how fast they were moving.
Yeah.
And they went down across the street and into the woods, and they took off running after him.
What?
Yep. Never caught him.
That took some guts.
Yep. Never caught him.
Wow.
Lost him in the woods.
Wow.
And he said that the way that he describes it, again, and he freaks out when he tells the story.
This is the first time I've ever heard a witness describing the fact that they couldn't get a focus on the object or on the alien. I've never heard that before. That's interesting. It's like a field technology. They're putting something around them that causes them to be fuzz. I mean, you ever notice?
Well, he said, Dale, you got to call in, brother. He said that they had the motion like they were walking sideways. Okay.
Yeah.
But they were taking really huge distances for the step.
Yeah.
Bzzz,
yeah.
Really fast and blurry.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And they had part I've heard often.
Silver suits.
Yep. Silver suits common. The movement is interesting. The movement doesn't, like the step doesn't correlate with the distance traveled. That's often the case. They'll cover like extreme amounts of distance with almost, and sometimes not even moving at all, but just kind of sliding across the ground, so to speak. You know what I mean? Without touching the ground. Very bizarre.
Keep talking. I'm going to call Dale.
Okay, yeah, call Dale. That's a great story, man. I mean, geez, the object, first of all, you have the UFO, then you've got the aliens. These guys got out of their trucks, had the presence of mind. They weren't scared out of their wits. They went and chased after these things. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Bunch of witnesses.
Wow, how many witnesses were there?
I think he said there was like 3 or 4 in the truck in front of him.
Okay.
And I know that it was a couple of guys and like 3 girls, and it was him and 2 friends. I thought it was him and his brother, but it wasn't. I went and talked to him about this a couple of weeks ago. I had to, had to talk to him about a couple of other things. He was actually planning a trip out to Kingman, Arizona, and he was going to hook up with somebody out there and to go do some prospecting at the Kingman crash site.
Oh.
So, yeah, that was
interesting.
So I think he's out doing that right now.
Huh.
So
maybe that's where he is, yeah.
Check this out. Just got this email in. It's pretty interesting. He says about the Malaysian crash. He says, this is from JC. Third world countries testing EMP laser satellite gone wrong.
Interesting theory. Good.
When it comes to hold on, I got another one. They're coming in.
If you can deliver an EMP, why not deliver it with a laser or a particle, some sort of particle weapon, microwave beam, technology?
What about HARP?
HARP, yeah.
HARP is still, the more that I find out, the more that I know about HARP, the more that I'm scared.
The less that you like it, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, this just came in from Brad. It says, I have a hard time with people that say they've had a sighting and they talk about the lights on the craft. I think in my mind they can travel such massive distances with technology so far ahead of us. Why would they need headlights?
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, no.
Never. And then he ends, this is from Brad. He says, I've never heard anyone talk about this before.
Good question. They don't need headlights, obviously. I don't know. Why would they need lights if not just for, display to allow us to see them? Yeah. Now, on the other hand, you've got triangles, which often are seen pushing a beam down. Now, the light beam that these craft send down often is described by witnesses as being solid looking. So if you give light some kind of mass, then that's how it's kind of described, and oftentimes blue light. You don't want to go into the blue light. Hey, folks out there, if you see a UFO and it's putting down a blue light, stay away from the blue beam. All right, that's a bad one.
I often thought, again, I've said this so many times, but I just think that Hynek and Spielberg knew something when they made Close Encounters.
Yeah.
When they did the work that they did on those craft, okay, and had them represented the way that they did with the light shows, that, and I don't know. I don't know any secret information. I don't.
No, but yeah, you're right. I mean, how they presented that, when was that movie made in, like
77?
Yeah, 77. So, I mean, they were well researched. Whoever did the research for that movie, they must have done it for, several years.
Right.
To put that thing together, because they did it well. They did it well. They did it like what you hear witnesses describe.
And so back to Brad's email here, why would they? Well, look, I question a lot of things, Brad. You go and you do interstellar travel, and the first thing you do is you wreck your frigging craft in the middle of the desert in New Mexico.
You got shot down by a radar.
Yeah, shot down by a radar. What? All this advanced technology, and then you just fly here and crash.
Crash because of a thunderstorm, Oh, we didn't know there was going to be lightning here. Jeez.
Exactly. What do? Go to a alien Leavenworth? You get demoted. You're no longer a star pilot because, the first thing you do is crash. Now, but the explanations for some of that and the theories behind it, our radar technology is primitive as it is, messes with their gravitational setup and the propulsion systems, and the crafts lose control. And maybe again, it's hard to explain. But
or how about this for one? Maybe there was how about two doing battle in the air? One good, one bad, one there for mal purposes, and the other one saying, hey, no, you can't do that. They have a little fight. Boom, one blows the other out of the sky. Crash.
That I buy into.
I can't see us putting down, that kind of technology with radar does not make sense. We flew into high-powered voltage. No, come on.
Do you think, with all of the talk, again, call in right now, 323-825-5045 if you'd like to speak with Steve Murillo or yours truly. I've got lots of emails. Just go ahead and call in. We've got all the lines open. So anyway, 323-825-5045. Do you think with all of the research that's going on with DARPA, and naval research and everything else, that when Reagan started to make an attempt to allude to a defense system, for the imminent alien invasion,
Star Wars,
right? Do you think we would, if something crazy went off, that we would have the ability to defend ourselves? When you think, and I hate to go back to movies, but we don't have a reference, but being able to, when you look at ID4, Independence Day or anything else, we don't have anything.
Listen, we would have to have secret technology, technology that you and I don't know about, or our normal military doesn't even know about, that's mounted up in space, that's sitting there waiting. And if that kind of thing went down, that technology that we have is equivalent to their technology. That would be the only way that we'd have a chance, I think. Because what's the first thing you're going to do if you want to put down? I mean, look, okay, here you have these craft that can fly at light speed or faster. And you can get anywhere you want to on the planet. What's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to take out all the communication. First thing you're going to do, take out all the satellites. And that'd be like you'd have that done in about 3 seconds. And now we can't talk to each other, right? Now our communication's down. What's next? Well, I don't know. Take your pick, whatever you want to do. You're running the show now. So
would you even have to even go that far? Couldn't you just a virus?
You could do that, yeah.
I mean, what's the sense of having, if you're so far advanced,
Yeah, you have to look at the motivation. Why would you want to take over a plan like this? For its resources? And if one of the resources is the people, then okay, you don't want to kill them, right? You want to keep them working, make them slaves, whatever you want to do. But if you don't like the people, if the people are considered a sort of a bad virus on the planet, you want to get rid of it, eradicate it, yeah, you unleash something like Ebola, Zaire, Pleiades, and kill everybody.
Flip it around for a second. We're already talking about right now that our planet's not going to last forever. We need to start making plans.
This we know.
Well, yeah, whether we're going to Mars first or someplace else, some moon on Jupiter, whatever. Okay,
right.
Europa, but we're already in that mindset here. Okay,
right.
Now if we needed to go to Europa, but we couldn't because in the seas of Europa, underneath that frozen ice, is some crazy thing there. Not something that would fight us, but something that we couldn't live with.
Right.
What are we going to do? We're going to exterminate. We're going to clean that out so we can eventually.
Sure.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I know that's the way we think.
Right.
We're looking out for us.
Right.
Now, if somebody is out there that needs a place to park their starship, and they've got whoever living out in a million, some crazy, 500-mile long starship cruiser that's been flying for 10,000 light years,
right?
And they come across the first planet that's covered in water, they're going to fight for it. Do you understand? Because we would do the same thing.
Yeah.
That's just the way that we think. We can't even have ants in our house. We exterminate immediately.
You cannot cohabitate with ants. No.
We can't cohabitate with anything.
Right.
Our house is clean.
Right.
Right. Mine isn't really, but
no, yours is clean.
But do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're fighting all day long with mice and roaches and other creatures in our own little habitats. But
right.
But it's the same thing. If we need to go, and if we've got something that we can't deal with on Mars, we're going to clean house before we go and get our stakes in the ground.
Sure, of course, makes all the sense in the world. So you have to look at, if there's one, there's millions of civilizations out there. And we all evolve in different ways, and you have different things to evolve. You have your technology that you can evolve, your mental abilities, you can evolve those, and your spiritual abilities. But they all can evolve at different rates in different ways. So you're going to get all kinds of mixes of, one might be a warring race, one might be very intelligent and intellectual, but still a warring race. One may have no morals or seemingly have no morals at all, and hey, taking out the indigenous population there's nothing wrong with that. That's just what we do. We're here. This is ours now. Thank you very much.
Right.
And on the other hand, I'm hoping that there are others out there that have maybe a federation or something, and they're going, wait a second, we're here to protect. Maybe a little more spiritually evolved, right? We're gonna protect the rights of people who can't protect themselves, or races that can't protect themselves. And so we're out here kind of monitoring things and keeping the bad guys from going crazy.
Right.
So
Steve is on his third beer, everybody.
Yeah. No, but that's what we hope. That's what we hope.
Yeah.
If there's one, there's millions. I mean, if you look at the millions of galaxies, millions and billions of stars out there, astronomers now, it's just a given fact that there's life elsewhere. A decent academic astronomer is going to say, no, there's life out there. That's not even a question anymore. Just based on sheer numbers of planets that we've discovered in the last 3-4 years, it's done. It's a done deal. There's life out there now. How old is the universe? 13 billion years old or something like that, right?
Right.
How old is our civilization?
Civilization or Earth?
Let's take our civilization when we were from when we weren't a thinking civilization, when we were just sort of animals, to when we are now. How many?
If we go with the orthodoxy,
right?
If we go with that, then it's the pyramids, Sumerian. With the wheel, so 5,000 years,
right? Or if you really wanted to push it, let's go to Göbekli Tepe or whatever in Turkey,
right?
12,000 years.
Yeah, 12,000 years.
Okay, so let's say, let's go 20,000 years. Give it 20,000 years that was when civilization started. That's like a drop in the bucket compared to the age of the universe, And if one of these civilizations began evolving, 2-3 million years ago, it doesn't matter,
right? Which is still nothing.
Yeah, or take us and let's say we survive our evolution technologically. We survive our technological evolution and make it to the next level. And where will we be in a million years? What will we be like? What will our technology? I mean, we're on the verge of AI now.
Right. We would be taking over planets and exterminating other species. Baby. Yeah. That's the way we think.
I don't like the way it looks. Cut its head off.
I'm serious. That's why we don't have a problem thinking that way.
Right.
That somebody would come here.
Right.
And look, if somebody, I really honestly think this is me. If somebody got here and was beyond exploration, they wouldn't be here with good intentions. They wouldn't. They're not here to be anybody's friend.
Right. If they were here to help us spiritually evolve, they'd be like holding their hand out, and
yes,
they'd be making themselves known. And
yes.
No, what's happening, at least if you consider the abduction phenomenon, that's nefarious, man. That is not
right.
That is not cool stuff. You don't just take people out of their houses, do what you want with them, put them back with their clothes on backwards in the wrong house.
And leave them alone.
And say, have a nice day.
Yeah,
you don't
right.
do that stuff. That's not cool.
That's not cool at all. It's not.
But that's what people report.
And if you're
over and over and over.
Right. And if you're an advanced civilization, you know that's not cool.
Right.
You're smart enough to know you've really messed with somebody.
Right.
This email just come in. This is really funny. I just got to read this. It says, I guess you've got too many listeners named Brad. This is the original Brad. I've got all these emails coming in. I had like 3 or 4 tonight from Brad. And they're all different Brads.
They're different Brads?
Yeah. This Brad goes, dude, I'm the original. Hey, Brad, and I know who you are, Brad. We got to have a code word. I should respond to this email so he responds back correctly.
There you go.
So I know the original Brad. Okay. Let's see. Oh, man. Wow. We're flying through the time. Okay.
Are we? What time?
Yeah. It's almost,
we're looking good.
Yeah, we are. Okay, so look. Let's get to again.
You wanted to talk about Ragnarok.
Ragnarok.
Yeah, the end of the world, man.
Oh, let's do that. Yeah.
You want to do that in the top of the hour or the end of the hour, or what do you want to do?
We're gonna do. Let's do it right now. Let's do your favorite UFO incident that should be turned into a movie.
Okay. All right.
Because I have mine. And so I know that you've thought about it. Let me pull mine up. You tell me yours first.
Okay, I'll go with Bentwaters. I think that'd be a cool movie.
Why?
Because you've got so many witnesses to the event, the actual event, okay? December, what was it, 1980? What was it? Now my Rendlesham Forest. 1980, yeah. December 26th was the first event, and there were lights, RAF Bentwaters or Woodbridge, lights reported over the field. Colonel Charles Halt's the commanding officer at the time. I forget his title. Anyway, they go out and they investigate this thing. They send out patrolmen, and they actually see a UFO or a metallic object darting in and out of the trees. Allegedly, it lands, and this happens on December 26th, and again on 28th. Allegedly, somebody touched the object. They got they cordoned it. They put lights on it. I mean, this is a big deal. It's happening.
Well, you know why it could be turned in, and this is why.
You got so many players, so you can have a lot of different movie stars.
And the whole, and the setup. It's Christmas parties are going on.
Yep. It's a Christmas movie.
Yeah, so you got that element.
Yep.
Halt gets pulled out of the Christmas party,
right.
and it happened again, sir.
Yeah.
So you've got that whole setup,
the cover up.
Yeah,
the crazy, airman who starts talking about it and. Starts talking about how he was debriefed and, he got taken to an underground bunker. And all
sodium pentothal.
Oh, man, the whole deal, man. That could be a cool movie.
And you get the ones and zeros binary
the binary
code.
download.
Yeah.
but you could go dark with that movie, and I mean, because it is kind of a dark. It's got a dark edge to it, you
Right,
know,
right.
A lot of dark
It's
elements.
not a happy movie.
No, not really happy. And then there's the nuclear element. There were nukes on the base allegedly, or
No, it was the only nuclear.
well, Halt will never confirm nor deny that. He will never tell you that there were nukes on the base while he was there.
Really?
Yeah, he won't say it. Not in
I
public.
thought that was
well,
our.
it's a given, right?
Right.
But he doesn't come out. He won't publicly say that because he's
I did not know that. I thought that was our NATO nuclear.
Well, and now
for the
now
Air
that's pretty
Force.
much what's known. But like, if you get Halt in a room and he's talking about this incident, and people come out and ask him, he won't say that there were. He won't admit it.
Huh.
I can neither confirm nor deny the presence of nuclear weapons on my ship or base or whatever.
I would think that if Hollywood hasn't already signed,
yeah, that's a great movie. That'd be a great movie. You could have a host of stars, a lot of tension, a lot of drama. The abduction probably happened. All kinds of crazy stuff. And then what happens to him you could follow him into their lives and see what happens to him in the end and make up stuff. It'd be a pretty interesting movie.
Okay, this is mine.
All right, let's hear it.
What I was hoping from you was something that possibly everybody has forgotten about.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, not
And
an obvious one.
And this one, well, but Ben Waters would make a great movie. I understand. That's what you think should be made into a movie. I understand that. This is mine, and it's a case that I never hear anybody talk about. It's a case that is about as fascinating and as detailed and as documented as anything else. But I'm going to mention it to you first,
all right,
and then tell me if you know the case that I'm talking about.
Let me hear it. I'm dying.
The 1957 Levelland, Texas case. Exactly. You ready?
Okay.
This is a movie. And I just, and the case is so fantastic and so amazing that the fact that it isn't out there like everything else and talked about everything else.
It's not what I'm familiar
This is what happened.
All right, let me hear it.
Okay. November 2nd, 1957. One of the most best documented cases, UFO landings took place in Levelland. I'm reading. Okay,
right.
So everybody just bear with me. I could go through.
No.
I could go through everything from memory, but I'm going to lose some of the details. So it's just best that I do it like this. So just everybody, just
do it.
Indulge me. Okay. It took place in Levelland, Texas. At the time, the city was about 10,000 people. The night would be the most unforgettable experience ever for Patrolman A.J. Fowler. So now we've got a named person.
That name's ringing a bell. Come on.
Who was manning the police phone lines. Okay. He received 15 different phone calls from anxious citizens. Remember, this is all logged, reporting UFOs. The sightings began at 11 p.m., some 4 miles west of town. Pedro Saucedo and a friend, Joe Salaz, S-A-L-A-Z, were driving in a pickup truck and observed a brightly lit cigar-shaped object heading in their direction. They reported that the object was 200 feet long. Pedro's truck began to fail. The engine cut out. The electrical system went dead. The truck was allowed to roll to a stop. Pedro and his friend recalled the unknown object as being 200 feet long. In the small town of Whiteface, he called in what he had seen to Fowler, who was thinking he was talking to a drunk person.
Okay.
Officer Fowler.
Right.
He dismissed the call. At 11:45 p.m., that happened at 11. At 11:45 p.m., Fowler gets his second call of the night. Now imagine if this is a movie. That's one of your first scenes.
Right.
Okay? And the first phone call, Pedro and his buddy. 11:45, Fowler gets a second phone call of the night near the small town of White Hall, located 4 miles east of Levelland. A man encountered an egg-shaped object. This time the object was sitting in the middle of the road.
Egg-shaped.
The object was brightly lit. The man left his vehicle, watching the object from a safe distance. Shortly, the UFO raised up off of the ground to an altitude of about 200 feet and disappeared. His vehicle had also stalled, but he restarted after the UFO had left. At 12 o'clock, tell me this wouldn't be a good movie. At 12 o'clock, midnight, The third call comes in. A man traveling about 11 miles north of Levelland sees a UFO also sitting in the road. His vehicle is disabled. He sits for a time watching the unknown craft. Before long, the silent object lifts up and disappears into the night. The man's car immediately fires up. He drives to the nearest telephone and calls Fowler.
Huh.
At 12:10, this is 10 minutes later, a Texas Tech freshman from Texas Tech, his name is Newell Wright, was driving 9 miles east of Levelland when his engine failed. The 19-year-old got out of his car, popped the hood, and tried to see if it had an electrical problem. Then he saw an unknown object landed on the pavement a small piece down the road. He estimated the object's length to be 125 feet. It was bluish green in color. It soon rose up and disappeared.
Huh. Interesting. They're all using the roads, these things.
A couple of minutes later, at 12:15 a.m., 5 minutes later, another driver. That was at 12:10. All of these phone calls are logged in at the police station.
Okay.
That was at 12:10 with the Texas Tech freshman. 12:15, another driver near Whitehall encountered an unknown object in the middle of the highway.
Middle of the highway again.
His vehicle also disabled. Like the other drivers, after the object left, a call just came in and I missed it because I'm facing the wrong direction. Call back. Like all the other drivers, the object left. His vehicle returned to normal. After a fourth call reporting a landed object in the middle of the road, Patrolman Fowler began to worry and called patrol cars in the Levelland area to be on the lookout for this object. At 12:45 a.m., Fowler received yet another report from the general area of Saucedo's initial sighting, the first sighting. This time, the driver sees an orange ball-like object coming toward him. He reported that the UFO made a soft, quiet landing on the pavement in the middle of the road. He also related a strange phenomena that the orange color of the object changed to a bluish-green color as it landed on the highway. He could also estimate the length of the object to be about 18 feet as it covered the entire width of the road. 30 minutes later, another report comes in at 1:15 a.m. A truck driver from the city of Waco, Texas, makes the call. He tells Fowler that driving northeast of Levelland, he saw a large unknown object glowing in the sky. The man sounded frightened on the phone. The trucker noted that the object was about 200 feet long, which agreed with the initial Saucedo reports.
Right.
The man's truck, temporarily disabled by the object, roared back to life when the object left the area.
That's the weird part about this. Oftentimes, the person, when the car gets disabled, the car fires up on its own. Like they don't reach back to the key and turn it. It just fires up on its own. How does that work?
The EMF, is a temporary thing.
Yeah.
So that's now.
But you got to engage a starter. You know what I mean?
Let's go back. Okay, now here we are. 15 minutes later. Up until 1:30 a.m., all of the reports received by Fowler had been from civilians.
Okay.
That would change when he received a report from two police officers 3 to 4 miles outside of Levelland. Sheriff Clem and Deputy McCullough testified that they observed a large glowing object pass across the highway in front of them. They had never seen anything like it. They had been monitoring Fowler's reports on the positions of the callers tracking the object. The officer stated that the entire highway was lit up by the sun-like object.
Sun-like object.
No less than 15 reports. For reasons that we will never know, for some 2.5 hours on the night of November 2nd, 1957, the city of Levelland, Texas, was visited by unknown flying objects that were landing everywhere.
Yeah. And different looking ones, different sizes, shapes, appearances. One's an egg,
Well, it looked like,
one's a cigar.
Right, two objects. One's 200 feet long.
Right.
One's the width of the freeway.
Whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Egg-shaped,
documented, police officers, everybody's named. Everything is logged into the logbook. And I can't believe that that's not a movie yet.
To make it a movie, you got to have some kind of alien animal that got away, and they're trying to find it. And it's killing people along the way.
Why you got to make jokes, man?
No, I'm just saying, man. That's what people want to see. They want to see.
You got to make jokes.
They want to see people get torn up. That's just the way it is in Hollywood. Oh.
And this story is something that I dug up. I had read about it years ago.
That's crazy. I've never heard that case, actually.
Yeah.
Never read that case.
Documented. Names.
Yeah.
Dates, times, everything's there.
Multiple witnesses.
No
alien beings, though. Just the craft.
No beings.
But all of them, the engines were disabled. The EMF just turning them off and
swamp gas.
Yeah, it was swamp gas. Planet
but
Venus.
I don't know why when I'm not going to just say names of researchers out there, but why this isn't talked about a bit more, and why there hasn't been some investigation going in. Why, when we have what we have with Roswell and Kecksburg and the digging that we have gone into. Here's a case right here. It's in Texas. It's 1957. It's not 1947.
Pretty old now.
It's getting old.
Yeah.
But these witnesses are probably still alive.
Hopefully, yeah.
And why haven't these guys been?
Where's the follow-up? Where's the follow-up?
And I'm surprised that you don't know about it.
No, I don't.
But
where did you read about it?
I can't remember the first time I had heard about it.
In various books?
Yeah, and it was one of those things where I went and dug it up a few months ago. And I tried to find some researchers out there to come on the show to talk about it. I couldn't find anybody. And it's not really connected to anybody.
Yeah.
I luckily found this.
Yeah.
Shag Harbor is another example.
That's a good one.
Well,
it's been done, but yeah, it's not in a movie, though.
No, not in a movie. And the thing is about Shag Harbor. It looks like our jitter problems have been solved, and everybody's happy.
Yeah.
Thank you for sticking with us. Okay, so Shag Harbor, I made contact with two of the original witnesses. Didn't want to come on the show. They don't want to talk about it.
Why? I guess
I was able to talk to. There's somebody listening right now that lives in Shag Harbor. His name's Dave. Dave, how you doing? There's your shout out,
Dave.
Oh, by the way, I've got a friend of mine in Holland, Dennis Abramson. Dennis, I know you're listening right now in bed, and I hope there's your shout out. But listen, check behind your stereo speaker, man, at the foot of the bed, because that sleep paralysis
behind the Bang & Olufsen.
The right behind the B&O. One of the fun things I used to love to do, though, and I'm serious, was listen to art at night. And back then, I go and listen to the shows now, and they don't have the impact. Specifically, Hoagland. Hoagland back in the day, 96, 97, Sidonia, the cities, the underground Martian cities.
He was onto something with that stuff. I think so.
Well, back then, yes, he was. I was right with him. I was looking at all those same pictures.
Read his book.
Yep. And it would freak me out, man. I would listen at night, and I'd be like, man,
look,
Hoagland could take you there.
Yeah, he could. Could. And Art Bell.
Art towing the rope.
Yeah.
So back to this Levelland case. I had Shag Harbor. So I contact everybody that I can up in Shag Harbor. Speaking about Dave, sorry for the left and right turn there. But coming back to it, he lives there, and he was in the Navy up in Canada for 10 years. And he did everything he could on his own before he met me to find out about Shag Harbor and to get into it, and got shut down at every turn. While he was in the Navy. And so he chased down the original guy, his name escapes me right now, that wrote for the local paper up there, that was on the scene, that was there, and saw the Coast Guard out there, and saw all the retrieval efforts that were going on, the scuba divers going in and out, and the local witnesses and everything. That guy, so he chased him down and said, what have you got? And he said, you know what? What's out there is out there. There's nothing I can say. And it's just like the whole case has been like shut down and forgotten about. And for me, I think the descriptions and the way that everybody described it, I'm talking about the police, all the witnesses, the fishermen, everybody there was very consistent, including the documents from the Canadian government, very consistent as to what happened up there. And for it to have been allowed to have been swept under the rug, to me, is shocking. And I don't know why. This isn't a case like Oak Island, which is a fascinating case in itself. But that is that is legend. That goes back hundreds of years. This is something that happened in 1968, 1967. I'm talking about Shag Harbor. And there is no reason why this shouldn't have, diligently been investigated by somebody or multiple.
And it might have been, but, we don't have those publications. Remember back in those days, everything was hard copy. There was no, a lot of stuff just gets lost. It's in Wendell Stevens' library and nowhere else.
Right.
Seriously, a lot of that stuff you'll never see anywhere else.
But oh man, Wendell Stevens, I still have it somewhere downstairs, packed in a box where I have some videotapes. I have a Wendell Stevens videotape, and he goes through. It was I remember the first time that I saw this. This is I probably bought it at like Tower Records or something.
Okay, was it Billy Meyer? What was he?
No, it was his collection of military photographs.
Okay. Oh, he had some excellent.
Yeah. And so it's him sitting there talking. I probably got this in the early 90s, somewhere in there. Paid $69.95 for it or something at Tower Records. The videotapes were expensive back in the day.
Yeah.
And but anyway, it was one of my treasured pieces for the longest time.
Yeah.
And so Wendell sits there for like 90 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, and flashes one picture after another up on the screen and tells about what it is. And Wendell messed me up, man, for a long time.
Why?
Because his
gun camera footage real clear.
Yeah. Back then it was hard to come by.
Yeah.
This is before the internet. It was tough to come by.
That's the good stuff, man. The old school stuff, the good photos that Wendell folks like from the 40s.
And I remember
military photos.
I remember Wendell. He said one thing that it messed with me. He goes, I've got, I don't want to. I'm going to have to paraphrase. Don't quote me, but he says something. I've got 50,000 photographs, and or something like that. And he's just flashing these up one after another about pictures I hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
And it really, Wendell messed me up.
He had a huge, probably the largest collection of UFO books that people knew about. There might be somebody out there that's got more, and when he passed, those all went to Open Minds Radio. So they're kind of the keepers of the books.
Did you know, I don't know if I told you this, speaking of that, did you know that Ann Druffel has got the Rex Heflin photographs?
Yeah.
She has the originals.
No, I didn't know she had the originals.
Rex gave them to her.
She did a lot of research on the Heflin thing.
I don't know if you understood what I just said.
No, I heard what you said.
Listen to what I just said.
The originals and the negatives?
No, they're Polaroids.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
Excuse my language.
Yes.
Oh.
So she's on the show.
Whoa.
Yeah. She's on the show, and you know how her voice is, and she's such a sweetheart, and she's listening right now, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to imitate you. She goes, Jimmy, I've got the original Rex Heflin pictures locked in a box here at the house.
Oh, my God.
I was like, excuse me? Ann, is this thing working? What did you just say? And she's like, yeah, he gave them to me. And Jimmy, I would love for you to come over if you want. We can take the box out and I can show them to you.
How cool is that?
How cool is that?
She used to come to our MUFON meetings. In fact, she was a board member for a long time. And they just got too much to come out and do the meetings. She had other things going on, but
that was one of the best shows.
How awesome is that? Yeah.
Well, the thing is, Steve, if somebody didn't know who that was and they tuned into this show midstream and they're listening to me talk to this dear, old lady on the show, they wouldn't know what was going on.
Right.
And who I was talking to or how important that guest was.
Right.
And so we're doing the show, and the gas man shows up. And they need to turn our gas off at the house because there's a gas leak.
Oh.
So I've got Ann Druffel. Jimmy, the gas man's here. Can you hold on for a second? And you hear in the background, are you going to turn off my gas? Yes, ma'am, we need to. Okay, Jimmy, I'm back. It was the coolest interview. But if somebody's listening, dialed in the middle of that, they wouldn't get who I was talking to.
Right.
And the amount of respect that this woman deserves.
Right.
And if I would have been talking to, let's pull somebody else out that's 80 years old. What if I was talking to some queen out there? Somebody.
How about
Betty White?
Betty White.
Yeah. Okay,
Betty White.
So I got Betty White on here, and Betty White is the gas man shows up at her house, right? Well, go do what you got to do, Betty. And you know what? This is great radio. I'm going to listen to it.
Right.
And you know what? I'm honored that that you're taking the time with me. And you know what? If you've got to go do something, that's fine. Go do it. Well, that's what happened with Ann, and it was one of the coolest moments in time, and I am so thankful for that.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that there were some listeners that came in the middle, heard that, and then dialed out and moved on, wondering why I would have somebody on the show like that, and they lost interest and had no idea that it was frigging Ann frigging Druffel.
Right.
Who not only is one of the most noted researchers, but somebody that was there from nearly the beginning, nightcap, everything.
Yeah.
James McDonald.
Yeah.
And she is in possession of the most treasured UFO photographs of all time.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And locked away in her house. And I go,
No, I never knew that.
yeah, it blew my mind. So I was like, Ann, where do you live? Jimmy, don't worry, they're safe. And I was like, wow. So and this was the funny thing. Before I knew that, and for everybody listening right now that heard the original show that knows what I'm about to say, you're going to laugh because this is how I got burnt on this. I got set up, and Ann knew it. Ann and I had a little argument about how many photographs were taken. And I go, Ann, there's 6. She goes, Jimmy, there's 4. I go, no. There's 6. There's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have them up on the screen. Jimmy, there's 4. No, Ann, there are 6 original pictures. Jimmy, I've got them. It was hilarious. She set me up. She knew, she's smart as a,
Yeah.
And it was just absolutely hilarious. And that's when I go, what do you mean? Well, Rex gave them to me. And it was just absolutely hysterical. And I was that's
amazing.
Yeah. And that interview, she has actually contacted me since, and she wants to come back and pick up where we had left off. And she wants to come back on the show. I've just got to get things lined up, the sun and the moon and the stars, to get her back on the show. But that was out of now that we're doing like a 3-month retrospective all of a sudden.
Yeah.
That was one of the highlights. That was an amazing interview. And also to hear her emotionally when she talked about McDonald.
Yeah.
Because there was a couple of emails that had come in during the show that were saying, rightly so, that you could tell that it was stronger than just a worky employer-employee situation there. There was some high emotions going on.
Yeah.
And I don't know if, I don't know. I'm not.
Well, as evidenced by the book that she wrote, I mean, you're not just studying a person there. You've got some emotional bond there that you want to pay honor to that person,
Right.
And that's what she did. She did a great book and paid homage to a great guy. So it worked out nice. That was good.
So now that I've revealed this Levelland, Texas thing,
okay,
the reason why I think it should be made into a movie is because nobody knows about it. So you roll up on the screen, based on a true story.
Right.
It's the first thing that's going to hit everybody,
right.
And it's something that nobody knows anything about, or generally speaking.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to try to pull out of you. So now, do you want to rethink your answer?
Well, I mean, I don't have any cases that are sort of like that nobody really knows about. I mean, I know most of the regular cases and just my own stuff. What I think would be a cool movie would be for someone to take a really hard look at all the evidence and everything that's happened in the last, 80, 100 years and meld it together into a reason. Like, we have all this visitation, we have all this abduction, we have all these things going on and sightings. There doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Other than, are they passing tourists? Are these guys trying to create a hybrid thing that they can put a soul into and experience God with? No one's ever been able to adequately explain what's going on and meld it into a story that makes sense. You have all these strange things happening. That to me would be a cool movie if you could treat it with respect, take real information and then blend it all in together and make sense out of it. And that's what we're trying to do. That's why we're here.
When you were in the Air Force,
Marine Corps,
when you were flying A4s, was there any protocol for an encounter?
Not that we were briefed on.
There was never.
No one said, "Hey, if you see a UFO, do this, and this." No, there was none.
Was there any reporting methods?
No. Well, did I tell you that story about the two guys?
Yeah, you did. But which was a great story. But I'm saying, you're going to flight school.
Never saw it in a flight manual.
It's not in a test anywhere.
No.
Like multiple question, what to do when.
Right. No, like the fire department, you might find a manual that says this is what you do if an alien crash, UFO crash. This is what you do. This is what you don't do. No, nothing like that. Pilots should just do what they're told. So ATC or whoever is going to vector you to an object, and they're going to tell you to check it out, and you're going to get a visual on it, and then you're going to describe what you see, and then you're going to, what are you going to do?
I was talking to Kevin Randall about this when he was on, and I asked him directly because he was just in Iraq, and he's in the National Guard. He's a colonel. So is there?
Well, in the Air Force, I think the Air Force Academy had it in their original manuals. I think in some of their training there was something about UFOs, but not named.
Well, Randall said that there was no chain of command either, and there was no reference. And I said, this is what was shocking to me. Here he is. I think he's in Iowa.
Yeah,
I could be wrong, but I think it's Iowa.
Yeah,
but he's in the National Guard in Iowa. And he's a colonel. And so obviously, if the governor needs to do something, some type of emergency response with something like that, is there a page somewhere that says, okay, first this is our procedure in the event that something foreign drops out of the sky and lands within the state of Iowa, this is what we do. He said, no, there's nothing. There's nothing. He doesn't. And I said, well, who would respond? And he said, I don't know. And here, he's in the National Guard.
Well, he'd probably be like it would be like any other kind of, bear in the air kind of launch. Okay, there's a target coming. No one's going to tell you it's a UFO. They're just going to say, we got a blip. It's, 500 nautical miles out, coming this way, get in your jet. And everybody'd scramble to their jets, boom, 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 launch. Vector towards the object, and await further orders.
If you were so you're flying, you're in your A4, right? And the tower needs to call you about something unidentified is on their radar.
Mm-hmm.
How would they say that to you?
They'd probably say bogey, whatever, vectors this and that. This is, they'd tell you it's real. It's not, this is not a drill. And then they'd say, we want you to do this, we want you to fly here or there or whatever, want you to get visual confirmation on it. And a bogey would be anything that's not, remember we talked about IFF?
Right.
And it's transponder code's not jibing with what we're looking for. So
friend or foe.
So it's a foe. It's a bogey. We don't know what it is. It's a bogey. It's on radar, but it's not blipping, it's not squawking 1200 or whatever the frequency is supposed to be, transmitting. So they fly you out to see what it is. And as you get closer, you get it on radar. And once you have it acquired, now you've got maybe you've got a weapons lock on it, or a weapons solution, so to speak. And now you're waiting for the orders. You don't have visual confirmation yet. You're getting closer and closer. What do you want me to do?
It sounds to me like you've had this happen.
No. But I mean, we used to
practice for it.
Practice against the bogey would be a Russian MiG.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So did you have to fly out and identify the aircraft?
We never had. Well, I never had a drill where there was an aircraft actually in the air that it wasn't squawking the right frequency and stuff. We went up and actually dogfighted each other. So we knew who we were after. We knew where we were looking for. But let's say red flag, that goes down every year or every other year in the desert there, and they do stuff like that.
Right. I've always wondered about that, and there has to be a page somewhere referencing this somehow, because there are response teams. They do exist.
They exist, but they don't exist in the normal military. They're not in the normal. For example, like a UFO response team type thing, that does exist, we think, because people report them showing up, in odd places at odd times after a sighting. Black helicopters, got a lot of guys in black outfits jumping out of the thing and running around. So, yeah, that exists, but it's not part of the normal military. It's, I guess we'll call it paramilitary, or we'll call it the dark military. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's not part of normal military life. Or I never met a guy. Hey, what do you do for a living? Oh, I go investigate UFOs. That's what I do. I chase them down. Nobody. Maybe one of my buddies did that, and I just didn't know about it. You know what I mean? It's just.
Now, you had mentioned, and the last time you were on the show, you told us the story of your first sighting.
Yeah.
The one over Manhattan Beach. What was the second sighting?
Well, the second sighting was deliberate. We all went out to the desert. I was with a bunch of people who were doing a sky watch. Sandra Marsh was the leader of this thing, and Sandra Marsh was a contactee/abductee type. And oftentimes these people are sensitive. They have some sort of psychic ability, I've noticed. And she seemed to be very tuned in. She would go out into the desert by herself or with somebody else often. So she was her own field researcher. She'd go out there all the time. And so we're out in Joshua Tree, and we're looking up at the night sky, and we're waiting for something to happen. And she keeps telling us that there's something parked. And she would point in the direction where this thing was parked. It's right over there. It's right over there. And it's just black sky. We're looking up like, yeah, whatever. So roundabout, I don't know, it was early morning. It was probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And all.
How many of you were out there?
Probably 20 people.
And how long ago was this?
This is probably, I'll say 2004, something like that.
Okay.
2003, 2004. Okay, so we're all on this hill. It's cold. We're in the middle of the desert. It's dark. We've all got these lawn chairs, these types of chairs we can lay back and look up, and blankets and all that. And we're all looking up. Some people are standing, some people are talking, some people are bored, some people fall asleep. And this dude standing next to me, he's got one of these little LED flashlight things. And he's blinking it at the sky, just randomly. And then all of a sudden he goes, whoa, that one blinked back at me. I'm like, what? And I turn and I look, and he goes, watch. It blinked back. I go, what do you mean? He goes, watch. And he holds up his little light, and he goes, 1, 2. And then the star that's sitting there goes, 1, 2.
No.
I swear. I go, and now it's got everybody's attention because I'm making a little bit of noise, and everybody's like, what? And I go, give it 3. And he goes, 1, 2, 3. And the thing goes, 1, 2, 3. And then everybody just goes ballistic. And I'm like, what? Everybody's like getting, now all of a sudden everybody's seeing this thing and they're excited and people are making noise. And this thing, after, as we're making that noise.
Well, how big was it? It was a star size, or was it bigger?
It was a star size, and it was at a star's, it seemed to be a star's altitude. In other words, it looked like a normal star. And it was in that area where Sandra was saying this thing was all night, right? So as people are getting excited, he hit it with the 3 and it came back with a 3. All of a sudden, it starts to get extremely bright and large. Okay, in other words, the brightness of it looked like it was getting larger It looked like it was coming down at us.
Was it because you were staring at it too long, or was this actually?
This is in like seconds. This is not something where we're staring and staring. This is happening in seconds. And this thing gets bright, in a very white kind of light, and it's getting bigger, and everybody's getting now scared, right? And whoa, what do we do now? And then as soon as everybody kind of got scared and excited and screaming, the thing went back to a little normal dot. Then it moved across the sky. And
anybody videotaping?
No. So it moves across the sky, and it must have moved, I'll say, an arc of about, I don't know, maybe 90 degrees. Okay, moved across the sky.
Wow.
And stopped. And when it stopped, it was in a perfect formation with two other stars. And it still looked like a star again. And then the three of them rotated, like in unison. All three rotated and then just kind of faded out like this. And that was our sighting. It just faded out.
That's incredible.
That was wild. Now, what's incredible about that is Sandra Marsh called the shot. She called it. We went out there to see something. We actually saw it, and it behaved in a way that was not normal. It was not a satellite, because satellites don't stop, change direction, don't, you know what I mean? It got in with two others and did this little dance, and it was an equilateral triangle. It wasn't just some weird triangle. It was an equilateral triangle. And that blew my mind. That blew my mind. So, once my world was pried open with that first sighting, now it was just like enlarged again. And so that was wild. So now I'm convinced. And some people missed it because they were too tired. They went to bed and this and that. They went to sleep. And they missed the thing. This happened probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So we planned another one for a few months later, and I convinced my wife to go out, to come out with us. So we all, not the same crew, but most of the same crew, we all went out to the same place, and we were doing the same thing, camping and having fun, and then we're going to do the Star Watch. We did that time, Sandra brought spoons, and we were doing bending of spoons, like party games like that, things. Anyway, so we're staying up, and it's getting later and later, and we're trying to, hopefully this is going to happen again, and it's just getting later and later. It's like 3 a.m. Oh God, nothing's going on, right?
Are you using the flashlights?
We're trying everything.
Isn't that what Greer does?
I don't know.
Okay, all right.
I don't know. And we brought lasers with night vision. And
okay.
Seriously, we were trying everything.
Right.
And just when I thought it wasn't going to happen, it was still dark, but it was about 4:30. My wife's up. She's, putting up with this stuff. And all of a sudden, this light is coming off the horizon. Maybe it's about 20 degrees above the horizon, and it's coming across the sky, very linear fashion. Okay, you can say, oh yeah, there's a helicopter. And it gets over here to about midway of the sky and stops. And everybody's looking at it. And Sandra was already talking about, here it comes, and there it is, boom, it stops. And when it stopped, it got bright again, but this time, instead of just looking like a light, it almost looked like an eyeball, like an almond-shaped eyeball. And my wife freaked out. She started screaming, Steve, I don't like this. And she was, holding my hand and stuff, and this thing got really bright, and then it went shoom, back to its normal self, and then just kept going and just took off.
Did it do it?
Speed.
Do it for you? Do you think it stopped for you guys? I
don't know. It felt like it. Oftentimes when we have sightings, when people have sightings, they feel like it was for them. And that was the feeling that you got. You know what I mean? Like that first sighting, the second sighting. Yeah, it was the feeling that this is for you. This is our little show that we're going to do to let you know that you're not bonkers, that you're not crazy, that this actually is real.
Joshua Tree, parts of it could be really, 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 really remote. No airports out there, no other highways except for the one that you came in on?
Well, you're probably 7 miles in from the highway, okay?
Right.
And I can tell you where it is. It's like if you take the 10 past Palm Springs and all that,
right.
You go past that 29 casino and all that, and you go another maybe 20 miles or less. There's a road called, and it says Mecca.
Right, yep.
And you get off on that road and you just go in, and there's a Boy Scout camp there. It's called Cottonwood Springs Campground. And these days, though, lately, I've gone out there a few times since, but because of all the ambient noise from the town, because Palm Springs and all that's getting more developed, it's less dark. So it's harder to do night watching and sky watching. You can still do it, but it's just not as dramatic as it was back then because it's been more developed. But, yeah, pretty cool.
Huh. I want to go out there, and Preston Dennett was telling me this, same type of stories, and I want to try to go out and see. I mean, because, and especially here in Southern California, where we have different places to stargaze.
Yeah,
you got the Mojave, which it's down the street from where we are here. It's very, very close.
Right.
You have the other side of Mount Waterman if you want to go up there. You've got Joshua Tree. You've got the Palm Desert. You've got different areas where you can go. Very, very close, where it would be very remote, away from the city lights, and sit and look at the heavens for a while.
Yeah,
I've heard the same. I just want to experience it.
Yeah.
I've heard the same story over and over about being able to let them know that you're there, that you can communicate and talk to them. I just want to go and try it.
Well, I've been out there many times where I've got skunked.
Right.
Probably 3 or 4 other times when Sonner Marsh was not with me, and I've been skunked. Nothing. You just stay up all night. Your eyes are blurry in the morning, and you just I didn't see anything. It was fun. You got to see stars. And I'd take a telescope with me and just check out the constellations and things. But I think that I call them strange attractors. You need to have a few strange attractors with you. Sonner Marsh was strong.
That's what Preston Dennett said too.
Yeah, did he say that?
Yeah, the first time that first or second time that anything ever happened to him, I think he said it was, and that could be like in Santa Monica, like at the beach.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And they went down to the beach, a group of people, and the guy said, "It's right there."
Yeah.
And he goes, "What are you talking about?" "It's right there. Just keep watching it." And the star that he was pointing at, buzzed him, came down, did a little dance, and then took off again. But Preston said, it was a story something like that. And Preston, if you're listening right now, I got it wrong. I'm sorry. But it was something very similar to that. The second time, or the second or third time, he was with a lady, a woman that took him out off of the 210 freeway.
Okay.
In La Cañada area, not quite into Pasadena, but in that area. Pulled off, went up a hill, and this was 20 years ago, so it might have been a little bit different back then. But anyway, up onto a hill, and he said they walked around the corner, and she said, "Okay, it's here, it's here, it's here." Walked around the corner, and there it was sitting in this field, again, a glowing ball that had come down and then vanished again.
Whoa.
And became a star. And so, but again, it was her.
Right.
And
right. And I don't know what that is. I don't know how it works. Obviously telepathy involved and some sort of attraction, some sort of signature, some sort of connection that these people have with those things. And it happens, man. I don't know how.
Well, I've seen a couple of videotapes of, I don't want to name names, but I've seen some videotapes of some guys out in the desert with their mag lights.
Uh-huh. Right.
SOSing.
You don't even need a mag light. The little LED thing that you get on a keychain is fine. You know what I mean? Just like that. Yeah.
See, I'm prepared.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't even need it to be that bright. You know what I mean?
Really?
It's just that little dealy bob that you get at REI. It's about, it's just a little LED light.
I bought this in my UFO attractor kit.
Oh, okay. Well, that's probably good then.
Okay.
But yeah. Now I have had my own sightings. I remember. Now you're getting me to remember. I was at I was in TJ in Tijuana. We were doing a build. I'm a member of Rotary. Okay, so we're down there. We're building a house for somebody, and I was talking to a buddy of mine about UFOs. He was making fun of me and stuff. He's a close friend. Anyway, so we're hanging siding on the side of this house, and he's up on the roof and he's nailing it. I'm holding the siding up, right? And so I'm looking up at the big blue sky and some clouds. And as I'm looking up past him, these two little balls, they look like little white pills, go flying through the sky, in and out of the clouds, and they're like dancing with, like dogs would play in the grass. That's what these things were doing. They were dancing with one another, and it happened so quickly, and I was dumbfounded. I didn't even think to say, "Turn around, look." I was just staring at this. And by the time I thought, "Tell your buddy," these things were into a cloud and they were gone. But that was a pretty cool one because they actually looked like they were having fun. They were like doing one was doing a spiral, the other was chasing it, and they were little round white pills, if you will. I don't know.
And how big do you think they were?
I have no
from
idea.
that distance?
I have no idea because I don't know what the cloud altitude was, but they didn't appear to be big. You know what I mean? And somebody listening to go, oh, they were just balloons. No, these things were moving in a linear trajectory with speed. And they were moving around one another as they were doing this, sort of like dogfighting or something. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
We only have a few minutes left here, so I'm going to ask you some other stuff. First off, I want to talk to you about MUFONs and MUFON.
Okay.
And, any relationship with MUFON in this show has been blown out of the water a long time ago, so,
That's cool.
whatever. But what... and then I want to talk about what you've got coming up next over at UPARS.
Cool.
But what happened? What happened? What with MUFON? Because one of the things, I've known you for maybe 5 years.
Yeah.
And I've seen you on TV. Where very proudly at the bottom of the screen, Steve Murillo, director of MUFON, Los Angeles,
right.
and it's a 13 years. It's a proud. You were that guy.
It's a good run.
It was a great run.
Yeah.
It seemed abrupt. It seemed quick.
Yep.
And I just have to. I don't think I was so direct the last time you were on the show.
No.
In fact, I wanted to shy away from the subject. But
it's cool. No problem talking about it. My boss, she kind of got a little bit out of hand. She had been more or less hands off for the 13 years, right? And so we were running the show, and she was letting us do what we had to do. Then she all of a sudden started getting involved with the field investigators, and we had just recruited and trained 3 new ones because we were getting a caseload. We were getting a lot of cases. We go through these waves where all of a sudden there's a lot of cases and you can't deal with them. So we trained some people that were very interested in helping out, and they were starting to investigate and all that. And she started emailing them randomly and without any kind of notice to us or any CC or anything. She would call them, email them, and she started sort of harassing them. And I was getting, they would forward the emails to me. What does this woman want? I don't understand why I'm getting this.
Maybe she had never met them.
Never met them.
Okay.
And didn't, and the emails were strange. I don't know how to describe it either, other than some of it didn't make sense, was almost like rant-like. I can't really describe it, but something was off about these communications. And so at the time, Alex Mastreda, he was my director of field investigation, so he's in charge of these people. And he challenged this person, this gal that was my boss. I'll say her name, Georgiana Cifarelli. And said, "Hey, what's going on? Why are you doing this? Blah blah blah." And she started. They got into a confrontation. Okay, over email. And the upshot of that was she had Alex dismissed from his position at MUFON LA without any notice to me or email or, hey, this is what's going on or this is what I'm going to do. No kind of.
Well, for 13 years, was that the first time that had happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She was hands off.
Right.
We didn't invite her to meetings. She never came to a meeting.
Right.
The first time she showed up to a meeting was probably one of the last meetings I had before, my expulsion.
Okay.
So. Okay. She brought me a bottle of vodka. That was nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good vodka?
Good vodka. Yeah, it was good. I think it was a really nice bottle, actually.
Okay.
So anyway, she gets Alex transferred. She wanted to fire him, just outright fire him. But
how can you fire a volunteer?
Exactly. But she wanted to get rid of him, but he had his hands. He was helping the STAR team of MUFON do some investigations. He speaks French, and they had some French documents he needed to translate, and blah blah blah. So they needed him. So they said, hey, rather than fire him, have him transferred to Ruben Uriarte, who's the Northern California guy. So they did. They transferred him, and he was now working for Ruben, not for me. So now I'm missing my director of field investigations, and I've got 3 newbies who don't know what the hell they're doing, and they all quit. So now I lost basically all my field investigators. So this is now approaching May of last year. And I'm like, now what do I do? So Jan Harzan I knew was going to be taking over. He's the MUFON OC. He was my contemporary at MUFON Orange County. Okay, so I knew he'd be taking over in roundabout August. So I said I could probably stick it out until August. So I called Jan. I said, hey, if and when you take over MUFON International, is Georgianne Cifarelli still going to be my boss? And he said, I see no reason why I should change her. Yeah, she's still going to be your boss. I said, well, in that case, I'm out. And so at that point, I got a letter, an email letter, maybe about a week later, saying cease and desist, you're no longer the director, blah, blah, blah. And that came from Jan at the bequest of Georgie. Yeah, because Jan was still working for Georgie at the time. That's how that all went down.
What was the reason?
Just because there's no good reason,
because I don't feel a reason. I don't hear a reason.
It was just challenging her authority. That's all. Just challenging her authority, and but there was no good reason for all of the harassment. I don't know. But it was interesting. A lot of coincidences that happened shortly thereafter.
Well, how did the idea for UPARS?
Okay. So after that, so I called a board meeting right after that.
Let me stop and explain to everybody real quick. You have MUFON, and then Steve's he was director of MUFON LA, which was the largest branch of MUFON in the world, right? How many members?
It's pretty big. I don't know, hundreds.
Hundreds.
Yeah.
And UPARS is Steve's new organization.
Right. It stands for UFO and Paranormal Research Society. What happened was I called the board, right after I was dismissed. I said, hey, we need to have a meeting. And I let them know. And so we met at a restaurant, and I said, look, this is what's happened. What do you guys want to do? Do you want to keep going with this, or do you want to, stop?
Now, and again, I'm going to cut you off really quick. The board that I see now, those are the same people that I saw at MUFON LA 5 years ago. So still the handful of, everybody that I see at the UPARS meetings are the same people that were there for MUFON.
Right.
So basically, I'm going to put words in your mouth, but I want to ask the question. Did the board go with you? When you left MUFON and started UPARS, the core group?
More or less. I was prepared to just put it all down, because we didn't have that infrastructure for categorization of data. We didn't have the database anymore. We weren't getting any cases anymore. So I said, well, what do you want to do? Now, the one thing that I learned through all this research in my 13 years was, the one thing that the shortcoming of MUFON is it only researches UFOs, ufology, related, but it discounts related phenomenon that actually do occur. Like, for example, during sightings, you may have telepathy. You may have some sort of telepathy thing. You may have poltergeist. If somebody's being abducted, they have a lot of poltergeist phenomenon happening around them. So all these things are connected, right? But that's ignored, not entirely, but it's pushed off to the side. It's not part of ufology, MUFON ufology. And so I think we needed kind of a better, more all-encompassing solution to the problem. So I got together with everyone. I said, what do you want to do? And they said, we want to keep going. And I said, okay, what do you want to call it? So we sat there in the little booth in the restaurant and came up with the UFO and Paranormal Research Society, and there we are. And we still meet on the third Tuesday of every month.
How many people do you have now as far as membership goes?
On the meetup site, we have 800 and something members.
That's incredible. We did the majority of, and I hope you don't mind me asking, but did MUFON basically turn into UPARS?
Yeah. MUFON turned into UPARS. And I was able to migrate the entire database without, and I got well, I didn't. I mean, Meetup did that for me. I didn't have to do anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I took off all the MUFON logo and MUFON name and all that out of the Meetup site and became UPARS. And so now that's what we do. And we have great meetings. We still have great speakers. We had Richard Dillon, as you know, you were there. We've got Ken Gerhardt, a guy coming to talk to us next month, April 15th, I think it is. He's going to be talking about flying humanoids, which is an interesting topic that not too many people specialize in.
And that's something that would never, ever be at a MUFON meeting.
Right, exactly. But people love to hear about stuff like that.
No, underground bases, never at a MUFON meeting.
Right, exactly. Dulce and all that stuff, never at a MUFON meeting. You might not hear about time travel. You might not hear about, ghosts, or you might not hear about whatever. It's just not, MUFON they want nuts and bolts, man.
Now, is that chapter to chapter in MUFON? I mean, is there chapters in MUFON that would deal with underground bases?
I think there are a lot of open-minded people within the MUFON organization. You know what I mean? But its charter is not really to study that stuff.
Right.
It's to study UFOs, basically. And sometimes it does that in a good way and sometimes not so good. You know what I mean?
It seems like they should learn something from this. You guys were the biggest chapter, but not only that, I go to the meetings.
Yeah.
And I know who I see there, and I know who I saw there before. I know who I see there now. It's the same mindset that is there.
Right. Only now they're getting more information about various topics that they're interested in, besides UFOs. So it's kind of cool. I like it.
Well, if you have what did you guys do? Oh man, I don't mean to be, because it's kind of funny when I think about it like this. What did you do at the meetings when you had nothing to talk about?
No, we always had something to talk about. What do you mean?
What if there were no sightings that month? What if there was no investigations? What if there was nothing to report on?
That
field investigators had nothing to talk about.
That happened a lot.
Was it crickets in the room?
Yeah. I'd go, hey, Alex. I'd call him out in the middle of a meeting. Alex, there's my director of field investigations. Any new sightings to talk about? Nope, not a one.
Oh, man.
Crickets and
right.
But it was cool. Sometimes it was like that. Sometimes it was like we'd go for years and it was like tumbleweeds. I remember there were like 2 or 3 years where there was like almost nothing per month, maybe 1 or 2 sightings a month, and then towards the end there, it was like every other day something was going on.
Right.
Some sighting. The coolest stuff was black triangles. There's a lot of black triangles flying around L.A. these days, or there were.
Right.
And, multiple sightings, witness in PV and then another witness in Laguna Beach same night, separated by a few minutes, maybe, 10 minutes or something. And, one lady watches one like hover above her place in San Diego, her workplace. She's getting there early because she goes to the gym early, and then she goes to her work, and there's this black triangle thing sitting above a parking lot, and she doesn't know what it is, and crazy stuff. And I interviewed this lady. She's a Qualcomm executive, right? And she's like, you can tell this lady's making money. She's not a dummy, and she was just telling me what she saw.
What was the best? What was the peak year out of the 13 years there? Was there one rash?
The number of sightings?
Yeah.
It's probably 2012.
Really?
Yeah.
Not 2000, not 2001.
No, 2012 was a boatload of sightings. Yeah, it was like they were coming out of the woodwork.
And was this around Los Angeles or another part of California?
Well, I'm only dealing with L.A., so it was happening everywhere, but I was dealing with just Los Angeles. But it was happening everywhere. And people couldn't keep up with the sighting reports.
Who, if you're saying just L.A., but I would assume that your field investigators would go outside of L.A. Would they go to Joshua Tree?
Oh, sure.
Would they go to Bakersfield?
Sure. But, some of those cases would fall under other purviews. So, like, there's MUFON Ventura, there's MUFON San Bernardino. There were different investigators in those areas that would, like Ventura, So if you had a case in Ventura, if it crossed the border, then, yeah, you would, if you were chasing it, if it originated in your area and it went across in Ventura, it was still your case. We had a cool case in Santa Clarita, but it crossed into Ventura. It was a cool case because the town saw the UFO.
Are you talking about Pine?
No, I'm talking about a case that actually happened in the suburbs of Santa Clarita.
Oh, I haven't heard about this.
Yeah, and you didn't hear about it. It was, I would say, 2010 or 2011. And it was in the town of Santa Clarita has their own little online magazine, so to speak, community magazine.
Right.
It was reported there, and it was this. I know 2 people who live in Santa Clarita, hang glider buddies of mine, who saw the lights. They didn't see the object; they saw the lights. People were walking their dogs. It happened at around 7:30 p.m. It was a triangle sighting. It was lighting up the neighborhood. People from all over saw it. And the cool part was some jets were scrambled on it.
Really?
Yeah. And when my buddy, who's a hang glider pilot, he's an aviator for his whole life, right? And I said, well, what kind of jet was it? He said it was an F-18. So that's a Navy jet, or a Marine Corps jet, but probably a Navy jet out of Point
Magoo, yeah.
So yeah, the jet scrambled. They flew it. They chased it, and it flew off with jets ablaze. Afterburners ablazing. Man, it was a good sighting.
In Santa Clarita,
man, just down the road.
Man,
that's right. That's probably 10 minutes away from here.
At least,
15 minutes or something.
15 minutes, you'd pass it. Yeah,
exactly. So that happened.
Wow,
that was a cool sighting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm always, I at the house, I'll go out in the backyard, and I haven't gotten a telescope yet. And by the way, anybody listening right now that wants to recommend a cool telescope, I would like to, pull the trigger here very, very soon. Of course, I've been saying this for 10 years, but in the last year, I've really, and Rita wants to get one.
Oh, okay.
So, and I just want to start looking to the heavens. And I do. Mojave's so close.
Yeah.
The 14 is right there.
Yeah.
The 14, for everybody out there, is the freeway that goes to the Mojave Desert. And out there is where they do all the skunk works testing, and they have their own airstrip out there. And but I would like to go out there because there's no lights, and there's really cool places to go and look.
There's a campground, Red Rock. You can go out there, and when the new moon comes, you can go out there, and then there's like a bunch of campsites and set up there and do it. And they go out there. Pine Mountain.
Yeah, Pine Mountain Club.
Awesome. Pine Mountain. I told you that story.
Yeah,
right?
That's one of the best stories. Well, we've got 3 minutes left, which means I've got 1 minute of show and 2 minutes.
You were going to talk about the trumpets, man.
We never got to it.
The trumpets of Ragnarok.
Yeah,
Ragnarok.
This is the thing about the trumpets, and I'm surprised. And OG Brad, I'm looking at your email. I'm sorry I didn't get to it tonight, brother. But and he says, I've never shared this before. You know what? I'm going to end the show with this. Okay, here we go, Brad.
Do it.
It's long, but here we go. Never shared this before. My only experience, fall of 1985, I was stationed at Fort Hood, driving from Coppers Cove to Gatesville on a 2-lane road that ran beside to the west of Fort Hood. Me and my wife looked up and saw this huge black triangle that was about 300 feet across and was moving west very slowly. I pulled over, turned off the car, and realized the thing was making no noise, not a sound. It appeared to be less than 1,000 feet high. Several of the cars pulled over and watched the thing with us. For several minutes, it just slowly moved across the sky, and then finally it accelerated to maybe 100 miles per hour and began to climb westward. A moment later, 2 Apache helicopters came over us from where the triangle had appeared. They looked to be chasing it. Everyone watched and looked at each other, and shrugged. We didn't know what to think. I finally convinced myself that it was something that we made. It had come from the part of Fort Hood where the air base is located. I'm still not sure exactly what it was. My guess would be a solid airship.
Interesting.
Wow.
Solid airship.
Wow.
Yeah, good sighting.
Yeah, that's a good sighting. That's a real one.
That's a good sighting. Multiple witnesses. Apache helicopters chasing it. Oh. Now, obviously, helicopters are not going to be able to keep up with a UFO, right?
Right.
So they're either escorting it or they're just trying to shoo it away.
Well, Steve Murillo, as always, it was a pleasure.
It was my pleasure to be here. It was an honor.
Oh, man.
Jimmy, thank you, man.
No, thank you, Steve. And go check out UPARS on Meetup. And always good stuff going out there the first Tuesday of every month. Stay tuned.
Third Tuesday.
Coming up next is Explorations with Michio Kaku, and then After Dark Live with my man, Brian Alvarez. Special thanks to Keith Rowland and Art Bell. Faded Black executive producer is Rita Kumarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm and Mark D. Kovar. The announcers are Steve Harder and Mark D. Kovar. Music is by Doug Aldrich. You're listening to him right now. Faded Black is produced by KJCR for the Dark Matter Radio Network. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Jimmy.
I'll talk to you guys soon. Behave.
Bye-bye.
See ya.